Is live, and let me make sure it is on the end of the. Oh yeah, there it is. Yep, yep, it's right here. Yep, there.
Oh yeah.
All right then. Since who knows anyone's on here now, but this is be my first ever podcast. It's gonna be titled as Capsule and his Kin podcast. And I have three guests on here: Nicereaper,
Hello.
FelineCanis,
Yo, yo, yo.
and Mimic Vega.
Hello.
And today we will be discussing some of our favorite video game female characters. Because of recent times, people sometimes forget that what makes a great female character is the personality, instead of just saying, "Oh, they only people like them because of their looks." I mean, that's an added bonus, but still. And during this whole discussion, we'll be having a sideshow go through. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves first, or?
Uh. Well, anybody want to start?
Sure, why not? I don't see why not. Yo, this is my first time being on the podcast, ever. It's actually quite interesting because I've never actually been into anything, not into, but been invited into anything. So being in here kind of is I don't know, it just feels really weird, but also pretty interesting. But I'm glad that you had me on here.
Oh, no problem. Feline, you want to go next? Not Feline, you just now went. Reeps, you want to go next?
Hello, my name's Nicereaper. I stream video games on Twitch 3 days a week. And I embarrass myself a lot on my channel. That's really all I have to say.
Okay, and Vega, you're up.
And I'm Mimic Vega. I'm a speedrunner for Sonic Adventure DX and Mega Man Legends. I have a pretty long history with a lot of games, getting into competitive scenes, and also running tournaments. So, being on the mic, it's not the first time. I've done commentary too, so it's pretty fun to be back on this kind of thing.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. Okay, and of course I'm Capsule. I'm the one who just decided to start this podcast today. Well, I came with the idea a couple days ago, but I wanted to finally get this off the ground and start doing it. And why not do something great such as doing ladies? Why not? And as you can see, this is be on my stream. So let's get started. Who wants to start off with your first one? And we'll just go in a circle. Well, not really a circle since we're not in a circle, but just go each one down.
If we're not in a circle, we just make a circle.
We can't imagine a circle.
We'll hold hands through the mic.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Everyone, imaginary hold hand, please.
All right.
I could start if that's okay.
Okay, you can start, Reeps.
Are we going from like a specific order from least to most loved, or it can just be anything?
It can be anything.
Okay. Easy one. If anybody knows me, you know that my favorite game of all time is Metroid. I've been playing that game since I was, really, really young. Back when I first started my first game was Metroid Prime, and I, like many other people, thought that the main character, Samus Aran, was like a robot or just some dude until at my shock, she took off her helm at the very end. I was like, oh crap.
It's a woman.
Yeah, because it was, at least for me, it was unheard of to see a woman in a role like that. You really didn't see them doing stuff like that, fighting these giant monsters and just being a badass all around. So that really it was like a new experience for me because I never saw it before. And usually it was like the games that I played prior. It was a lot of like sort of like the women characters were playing like either a back seat, like side characters that really weren't important, or they were like damsels in distress. I like Legend of Zelda. I remember loving as a kid, and I always had to keep rescuing her ass from Ganon,
Oh, yep.
even though. So to see a female in a like in the main seat in the cockpit, if you will, it was actually really neat, and it kind of struck a chord with me because it made me just think, like, wow, you know. I mean, I was a kid, so I mean, that was kind of everything was still black and white to me. But as I got older, I really started to appreciate her more, and I started to do a little bit of research on her just to see her backstory. And she actually has a lot of backstory, even back then during the times of Metroid Prime. She had she was started off, her story pretty much started off with her parents being killed by this big pterodactyl dragon alien named Ridley, and her parents were killed by him, and his fleet pretty much had taken over her planet. Although the humans were still fighting back, and the Chozo at the time when her parents were killed, they took her in. They took her under their wing. No pun intended, because the Chozo are bird people. They took her under their wing and pretty much gave her the blood of the warriors, and bestowed onto her the power suit, which is the most common depiction people see is usually the Varia suit, which is the one with the giant shoulder pads. With the power suit's actually that, but it doesn't have the shoulder pads, and it's a lot slimmer. And the suit was only given to like the most, I guess, prestigious of warriors, but it had to be made specifically for them. So the power suit for Samus was made specifically for her. Nobody else can wear that armor but her. And despite like it looking kind of clunky, it offers a lot of protection and flexibility for her to do all those somersaults and like sliding and all that, like basically to be super athletic while also having a heavy suit of armor on, because that's essentially what the power suit was. It's like a heavy suit of armor, but it's made slim and has like extra defenses around it, like like an overshield of sorts. And I figured, I was like, that is so cool, you know? That's really interesting that she lost her parents and kind of went out. When she lost her parents, she grew up being trained by the Chozo to be this warrior, and once she got like experienced enough, she joined the Galactic Federation as a like kind of like a grunt. And as when she was a lot younger, she kind of had a lot to prove. And other M, if I may bring that travesty up.
Yeah, sure, it's fine. Bring up anything.
Other M did touch up on it, even though there was a lot of plot holes. There were some that were factually correct, some little things, and that was her like desire to work her way up the ranks and be somebody, because she never really had any. She didn't have family. She didn't really have friends, so she worked her way up to get to a rank, I guess, to get noticed. And that's where she met Adam Malkovich, who was not only her commander or commanding officer, he kind of treated her like a pupil, like his own pupil, because like, he saw something in her that, first of all, she was the only female cadet at the time, and she was also the youngest.
I didn't know about the female cadet one.
Yeah, she was she had I think the closest guy was like Anthony Higgs was his name, and she was she had a lot to prove. I mean, essentially, you had all these guys, and then you had this little girl, and I'm not lying, she was super young when she joined. Even though she still was experienced to use the power suit, she was still super young by the time she joined the Galactic Federation, and she was very serious about her role. And after a good while, she kind of saw problems with the Federation, and she decided to, like, later on, after getting more experience with working with them, she cut off to eventually become a bounty hunter. And she ended up taking on more dangerous tasks solo. Like, pretty much all of her missions are solo. And she became one of the most respected bounty hunters in the entire galaxy, which is awesome. You know, she started from nothing. Her parents got killed. She had to fight the person who killed the monster that killed her family numerous times. Ridley kept coming back, and if it wasn't Ridley, it was either a robotic version of him, or some phazon enhanced version of him, or a mimic, a ex mimic version of him. And it's like facing your demons, but if your demons were actual living, breathing, like, beings, and you're having to, you can't just kill it once. You have to fight it over and over and over again. And I think that says a lot. Like, even though in Other M she had that weird breakdown, despite canonically already defeating Ridley.
Didn't she defeat him twice by that point?
Yeah, actually. Let's see. I think Prime 1 takes place after Metroid 1. Right after she destroyed the pirate base, she then left and then picked up a distress beacon from the space pirates, a unit that actually escaped the planet's destruction after Samus destroyed Mother Brain. And actually, a quick little interesting little fun fact: did you know that Mother Brain was one of the designers of Samus's power suit?
I actually did learn about that, but I wasn't sure if that was like the same one or a different one.
Mother Brain was a computerized AI designed to help aid the Chozo in, like, strenuous tasks. Basically, it's just like a supercomputer. And it got so intelligent that it developed a conscience of itself and pretty much deemed all life, like, unnecessary. So she started taking control of everything and used weaponry and stuff, like, basically used the Chozo's weapons against them. And she ended up, or I should say it, but I mean, it refers to Mother Brain as a she, despite it being like a robot.
Yeah.
But it had a conscience, and it joined the space pirates and Ridley to pretty much help take over the entire galaxy. Now, why Ridley decided to take on this random AI, I'm still kind of iffy about, because Ridley's like a ruthless general that pretty much does not value life whatsoever. And I think maybe my guess is because it was of Chozo design, and the Chozo was a highly, highly advanced race. So Ridley, it was probably like a mutual thing going on, where Mother Brain could basically have the space pirates under her, like, on her side, and Ridley would have the supercomputer made by a super advanced, like, civilization at his side. And both of them hated Samus. And yeah, well, Ridley was a little pissed at Samus once she destroyed a lot of space pirate bases and may have defeated him 2 times. So yeah, Ridley's got a bit of a grudge because the space pirates already were a threat to the galaxy, but then Ridley had a little bit of pride, and to be defeated by a human, which he deemed humans all being weak, to be defeated by this one human, he kind of got a grudge, and he doesn't really like her very much.
Understandable.
But yeah, like with, let's see, like going like fast forwarding a little bit now, because Fusion was pretty much the last one in the lore, basically, where Samus, like she's there's a bit of a divide with people liking the regular Metroid games and the Prime games, and there's a bit of a divide where people are trying to say like which like series is canon. Is Prime, can Prime be considered canon with like the mainline games? And if you consider the Prime ones alongside and you just like string them all out, because they can still fit in the Prime games, like Samus has went through being stabbed in the stomach by Ridley, dragged through walls by Ridley, thrown through boulders, had highly radioactive substances like that pretty much melt skin thrown onto her, went through lava, got beat up. Like, she's had a lot of shit that's happened to her, and she still just keeps trucking, which you can't say that about a lot of people who could just take a beating like that and just keep going. I mean, the biggest one was when she almost died in Fusion, when she got infected by an X-Parasite, which the Chozo hated the X-Parasites because of how dangerous they were. And if you don't know, the X-Parasites, what they do is they pretty much go inside of you and infect you, and pretty much they take your DNA and kill you from within, and then they replicate into you, kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but they have all your memories, and they have your face, your body, your memories. If you had a scientist that had a bit of a, like, he knew a specific passcode and they infected him, they know the passcode now. That's how dangerous they were. And one of them actually infected her and almost caused her to die. And it's just, she's went through so much stuff. It's crazy. Like, going to, also shifting gears a little bit more, Samus also went through, she went through the loss. I don't know if I could say like a loss of a child, but she grew a connection after the events of Metroid 2, when she was ordered to pretty much exterminate all the Metroids on, what was that, SR388? She got a connection with it. Actually, the events of her destroying all the Metroids pretty much what led to the events of Fusion, but we'll get to that. She got like a kid, and then suddenly, like, she grew a connection with this, and it was pretty much like, if you really want to say it, it was pretty much her only family. It, as weird as that sounds, because she treated this like a child. Like, this last Metroid, the last one in existence, if you completely ignore the Prime Talon 4 Metroids. But this was the last one in existence, and she treated it like her own kid, and then suddenly, during Super Metroid, her only family pretty much just gets killed. It sacrifices itself to save her, and then that's more loss that she had to go through, which is incredibly sad. Like, she's got a tragic past, but she's also I think it's that past that's kind of built her into this like warrior that she is now. You know, she has a lot of trophies. She has a lot of experience on the field, and she's lost pretty much everything. But it still never really stopped her. And I think that's what I respect most about her is that she pretty much had everything taken away, and she's constantly fighting her own demons over and over and over again throughout the span of the Metroid games. She's having to fight the space pirates. She's having to fight Ridley. She's having to, like, I think Mother Brain got like a weird clone based off of it in Other M, which they just called her MB, or Madeline Bergman, which was like a fake alias it gave itself. But she's having to reface her demons constantly, and she still just keeps going. It just doesn't stop her. She doesn't crack. She doesn't falter. She just keeps doing it. And I think that's why I respect her.
Okay, I can see what you mean.
I'm sorry if I went too long with that.
You're fine. Just maybe for the next one, don't go too long. But it still was good how you explained everything though, why you like her so much.
Yeah, you really went into detail, even talking about canonical stories and shit. I'm like, holy crap.
I figured I'd start with the one I have the most knowledge on.
Fair enough.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Next up is Feline. You want to go up next?
Yeah. I'm not gonna be as explaining as Reaps, anyways, because Reaps, he really went into detail.
I started with the best. I started with the best. The rest won't be that long, I swear.
Yeah. I'm always a person who just likes characters who are able to just display their personalities just outright. I mean, of course, there's also a situation. If you wasn't talking about like video game characters, I probably would have brought up like a bunch of like different like characters from like other like films and anime and all that stuff. But like, since we're talking about video games, the one thing that I always enjoy about a video game is just being able to feel the energy that comes from the game, that it's from the gameplay. And one of the biggest contributors that I absolutely fucking love that they actually got this trope right for was Nico, which was a situation of having the lovable asshole. Now, this is not new in any sense of the word, because it's other characters like Deadpool, and there's like I can only think of Deadpool because I'm stupid. I don't remember names. I mean, no, but there's that whole situation where people continuously do try to make this type of character, and then they just come out as just an asshole. And it doesn't matter if it's like male or female. I always hate it because it's like you try, but you fail so hard because you don't know what makes these characters actually work. I like Nico because she's probably the best lovable asshole that I can ever like play with when it comes to a video game. Not only is she actually fucking useful, but her quick whips are like actually fucking funny, and she's not outright mean. She's just like she's just joking around, making light of a situation, and it's not always the case because she'll like always make like jokes and stuff like that around Nero, but then sometimes she'll sit there and like have her more emotional side, and she'll still show that, and I do think that is very necessary when you're trying to make those kind of characters. And I feel like people forget it the most when you're making a female character, is that you kind of got to know where to balance it. If you sit there and do too much of the asshole part, you're just going to be straight up bitch. And if you do too much of the too emotional, then you're just going to get the overly edgy, can't really handle shit type of person. And even if you try to figure out that balance, it's so delicate trying to sit there and figure it out, that doing so, when you do get it right, they're very memorable. But when you get it wrong, they're memorable for the wrong reasons. Like that's the thing that I've always noticed when it comes to people who make these kind of characters, especially like during YouTube, and is when they try to sit there and make these I guess troll videos. The whole point of like troll videos is that you're supposed to be basically an asshole to your comments or whatever the hell you're like responding to or reacting to. So the whole idea is basically that, and how they do it is that every single time they are just relentless of just being a-holes, just constantly. Like, I remember Quiet Shy, like, even though I still watch her content, it's just like 1 minute it feels like I just got insulted for like 12 minutes, like 12 hours. Because that's all she does is just insult people. And she doesn't like light up in the slightest. And then there's also like this other like video series, like Sylveon trolls and stuff like that. It's like she talks about like her comments, and it's like the dumbest shit because she'll just go constantly on insults. And it's like, if you're going to make, even if you're not necessarily like doing this for a story, if you're going to make a character who trolls people but doesn't make people feel bad, first of all, don't use like those like fucking elementary school insults. Oh, it's you have to spell like,
Oh God!
Gosh.
excuse me, hello. And then there's also the situation of just sitting there like, if your best joke is an opinion, like legit, if your best joke is you saying, "Oh, look, an opinion," then you know you're not doing anything right.
Ooh. Ooh.
It is that you were. It is like the most unclever shit in the world, and that's why I love Nico, because she's so fucking dumb, but I love her. She does like some of the biggest, like most goofiest insults, but it's not like, oh, it's your, or like, oh, it's your opinion or some shit. It's like she'll actually call you like a butt fart or something.
The one thing.
It's like natural.
It's
Almost.
like, it feels like somebody I would meet. And matter of fact, sometimes even I sit there and catch myself doing it, where I just go on and just make some of the most dumbest insults where it's like, I just don't care how it sounds like, or if it sounds cringy or like silly. It's just like, as long as I get it out there, that's the point of it. You just have to take it. Even if you respond and like, or don't respond. I just I love that so much, and that's why I love Nico, because within the energy of DMC, one of the biggest problems I have with certain hack and slash or character action games, which I don't have this problem with Nier, but Nier's a whole entire different situation, um, is that they'll have this super bombastic gameplay that's fucking crazy and over the top, and then you go into the story and characters, and they're like, as you see, he was the one who killed your father. How could this be? My whole philosophy has gone to shit. I can't believe it. You're gonna miss everything as soon as you sit there and leave. Oh, and it's just this whole melodrama. And it's just like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. I didn't pay money for this. I didn't the slightest.
Yeah, with DMC is like all silly and everything, including how with Nico, it makes zero sense how she's able to reach you at all.
Yeah. And then look, it's not even like just like DMC that does this kind of well. I would say does this well too, but we're not talking about that. But I still do want to touch on that a bit, where it's like Metal Gear, it kind of seems like it's going that melodrama route until you realize what the fuck they're saying. Half of the shit that they're. Ah, crap! Hold on, my mic just came out. That was stupid.
Oh.
Whoops. No.
I'm gonna make some omelets out of you, Jack.
Damn. Yeah, half of the shit that they're saying, once you actually start paying attention, they're just like, oh, makes sense.
Alright. Vega, you're up next. Oh,
That's pretty funny. Yeah. So this would be. I guess I'm gonna go with the boss from Metal Gear Solid, which is funny because that's kind of where Feline left off. Perfect. But
Circle
can
was
you hear me
good.
pretty
Yeah.
well?
Yep.
Let's see. Okay. But okay, so of course with any Metal Gear character, basically talking about just about any character will take you down a whole rabbit hole. So I'm gonna try to make it more simplified for her.
Sorry.
I know it's a little rough, but just bear with me. So so the boss, otherwise known as the Joy, she is a particularly like powerful character for me, and she's definitely like one of my top favorite females in any game. Uh, what really drew me to her was kind of like how throughout the throughout Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, which is where she originated from, she does give a lot of different dialogue about her ideologies, and she pretty much challenges all of the like beliefs that any American soldier would normally believe, and she takes several spins on it. Um, most it's mainly because the time that she is a much more prominent character is during the Cold War. So this was around the time where she is let's see, the first mission that you go in as Snake, she is kind of like one of your operators. She's on the field speaking to you, but you don't actually interact with her until after your first mission. So for that mission, this is where some of those ideologies come into play. She starts to kind of she drops little hints in the beginning when you're ready to go into her, and she says stuff like say if you're wearing the Raiden mask, she'll say, well, you're wearing that disguise. Don't be sure not to lose sight of who you are. And she sprinkles very, very, very little hints about what she's going to do. Ultimately, well, with her being an American soldier, ultimately she ends up defecting to the Soviet Union. And that is where all of my interests kind of got sucked in for that character. Now, her origin, before that moment, she was a pretty devoted American soldier. She was called the Joy just simply because she enjoyed the thrill of battle, and she is definitely one of the most highly esteemed soldiers that the Americans had. And she was so valuable that they wanted to use her to kind of go into kind of try to beat the Soviet Russia at the space race. So her loyalties, originally her loyalties was to America, but when they sent her up into space as a part of that space race, she took a look at the world, and that's when she started to have an epiphany. She saw a world without countries, without borders, without conflict, and she was so far away from the war that like none of what was going on the ground actually mattered to her. So fast forward to when she actually manages to get back on Earth, though in some of the worst ways possible. She suffered a lot. She on the return from space, she actually suffered some severe burns from all the cosmic radiation and the re-entry from the atmosphere, and she survived that. But that's honestly not even one of the worst things that she's had to go through as an American soldier. Once she got back to Earth, she kind of started trying to. She had to really question her loyalties because she knew what the American military was going to use her for. Soldiers are pretty much expendable at pretty much all times, even the most highly esteemed one like her and the Kobe unit. But everybody loved her. She was the mother of America's military forces, and that's pretty much that's pretty much where she started. The other thing being that one of the craziest things that ever happened to her before Snake came around, she gave birth in the middle of a battlefield.
Wow.
She got shot, and at that moment, she had her baby.
Jesus.
And this is all while bullets are wailing, like flying right over her head, and they're trying to get her out of the way and also deliver the baby and still stitch her up so she doesn't die.
Oh god, that is hardcore.
She was that dedicated?
Oh yeah, she a true soldier. And even after having the baby, she was still opting to fight. But her husband at the time, the Sorrow, well, her lover, I don't think they ever actually got married, but he ended up taking her place. Which the reason why he would gain his name is just because, well, the main reason he would have his name is because of the tragic moment when he was actually killed, and on the afterwards. She was the one that did it though. But a lot of those details get really mixed up. Fast forward to when she actually meets Snake, before Snake's first big mission. She had been exposed to different kinds of combat. She's been exposed to radiation, so she's pretty much just like she's pretty much like she's way too good at what she does, and she's infertile. She can't have children anymore, so she's pretty much just given up like any kind of thought of having a normal life at that point. So she and Snake developed a very special relationship. He was he wasn't really like a lover, a friend, or like a son or anything to her. They were just as is, and that's one of the most impactful things about kind of like their relationship, especially in their last meeting before she actually meets a terrible fate. She ends up teaching him everything that she knew, and she was pretty much an open book to him, pretty much in ways that she wasn't even open to people before him. She knew all his techniques. She knew all like her way of thinking, but he didn't quite understand where her loyalties were, and this is where she started to become a little more open about it in the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 3. So by the time that Snake completes his mission, she appears on the bridge that he needs to cross to get his target away. He's basically trying to bring the target back to America with him, but she stops him. She's in the middle of the bridge and she's carrying two heavy cases. And those cases would actually contain a weapon that was strong enough to destroy a research facility in Soviet Russia. And Snake didn't know what was going on. He just appeared, and he assumed that she was here to take over the escort. And unfortunately, she decides to, without a word, she just decides to break the man's arm, chuck him off a bridge into a river, and the last thing that she could leave him was the bandana on her forehead, and that's why every snake afterwards had that bandana.
Oh,
and this is a pretty neat. That's a pretty neat little thing, because that's not the only thing that she leaves with all of the snakes. By the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, her and the first snake, Naked Snake, also Jack, he actually fights her, and this is after she's defected. She's known as defected, and Snake's mission is to kill her. But throughout the game, she tells him, like, she questions him, tells him like he needs to think for himself. He needs to figure out where his loyalties are. Is his loyalty to the end? And she says that a lot. She asks, is his loyalty to his country or the end? But Snake doesn't understand that until the very end, when they're about to clash. They have to fight each other, and he understands that without this whole America versus Russia, country versus country, without these wars, the world could be united after all. That was the plan that she But what Snake didn't know until after he would kill her in that final confrontation, what he would not know is that she was willing to put down her gun and surrender for her ideals, and that's the one thing that he ended up hating her for. They have a pretty complex relationship. It gets a little more in depth than that, but sticking to the boss. She has this like snake like tattoo, or rather stitch marks going up from her from her lower regions up to her like chest, and this is where she was shot, and that's where the baby also was delivered. But at the end of that conflict with her and Snake, it slithers away, and it's weird because I kept trying to find reasons why that happened. I was wondering if it was like, a superpower or something, but it was mostly just a symbolic thing. And this was just her passing off her conflict with herself and all of that pain that she had off to the newest Snake. So it's kind of like a curse in a way. But what really made it stick was the fact that every Snake after her having that headband of hers, they all carried that same weight of wondering what it means to be a soldier. I honestly think that's like one of the coolest things about her too. She's a pretty important character overall. Like having to go through all that conflict, having to really question the world and kind of like what does it mean to live in the world, to live as a soldier or in a country. And I think all of that was actually pretty interesting of how Kojima actually wrote her. There's a lot of nuances in her character too, especially going down the trails of like maternity, what it means to be a mother.
Okay.
So that's about all I've got for her, really. If you have any questions, I'll definitely answer them.
Okay. Well, you got one? Anyone got any questions for her, or?
My only question is why did she choose Snake of all people? Like, why him specifically?
Snake was a special case too. Before he was trained by the boss herself, he actually was exposed to some radiation as well, which also made him unable to bear children. But because of this, he was a slightly more exceptional soldier, and under her tutelage, she saw the potential in him to basically take on the mantle of the boss. At that point, she had pretty much lost everything. She didn't even see her son when she gave birth to him. She didn't even see she didn't see her husband anymore because with what happened, she ended up killing him. She had no more ties to her country. There was nothing else left for her. So she wanted to pass everything that she knew down to Snake.
Damn.
Okay. Well.
But all of that was kind of. It's funny because even at that point, she was still setting things up. She wanted Snake to be able to kill her. At any point throughout Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake could have killed her multiple times, and he could have, but she wanted to really test him, like really test his strength as a soldier. Like she would take his gun away from him. Like I think one of the coolest moments was when you start your second mission, Operation Snake Eater. She catches you, and she enters a small like scuffle with Snake and dismantles his entire gun in one motion right in front of him. Tosses it right down onto him while he's on the ground. and has her he has her horse, or she has her horse stomp onto his hand as an insult.
Oh,
Damn,
jeez.
that's rude.
She was going to brutally teach Snake a lesson about being a soldier, no matter what it took, just to have him eventually kill her. Now, by the end of by the end of Snake Eater, it was all really just a question of whether he would or wouldn't, and of course he chose to.
Okay. Well, since you talked about mothers, I actually was able to transition to mine as well. Got
Alright.
second transition in a row. That's pretty good. All right. Since he talked about one mother, I'm going to talk about one of the best moms I find to be in gaming, and that's Goat Mom Toriel from Undertale. Who just said, "Oh, that didn't like that"? Oh, is that a bad? Oh, what was that, sir?
Nothing. It was totally innocent and non-pervy. But go on.
I'll get the spray bottle, Reeves.
Please don't. Not again.
All right.
I just went to go shut my door. What the fuck did I just come back to?
Don't worry about it. But I'm talking about Toriel now, Goat Mom from Undertale. She when I first met her in the game, I was like, "Oh, this is who Goat Mom is. Why does people like her so much?" And as I got to know, like, see how she is and everything, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is pretty interesting." Until we got to the fight, and I'm like, "Wait, I actually have to fight you? What? I don't want to do that." And like and it pretty much is like one of those moments of, what run are you gonna do? You're gonna do a neutral run, a good run, or kill everything? And of course I decided to do, well, a good run, so I didn't end up killing her. But what I like about when you try not to kill her, she starts getting a little bit sad. She starts missing you a little bit more, like at one point where you're like, the flame she's showing you starts splitting apart. And to me that shows how much she genuinely does care about you, even though she just met you. Which brings into the idea of like her backstory, where her husband Asgore had a son. They had one son, which was, oh god, I almost forgot his name. Asriel. There we go.
Asriel.
Yep. And they later on adopted a human who was, depending on who you want to go with, you can go with Kara or Shara. I prefer Kara for character, but whichever you want. But they adopted them, and everything seemed pretty happy. Everything seemed pretty go-lucky. They were okay with living down where they were until the fateful day where, of course, Kara was maybe a little bit evil, and still a little bit of debate for that. But got Asriel to go on the surface. Things went horribly wrong, ending up with both Asriel and Kara both dying. And that completely broke her apart. Like, it messed her up deeply. To the point where, and it of course messed up Asgore as well, but Asgore went with the idea of, we're going to leave the underground. And the only way to do that is by taking the human souls, and Toriel was like, I'm not for that. And that pretty much ended with them having seemingly a divorce. Like, they were separated after that. They're like, I'm not gonna tolerate this anymore. And she left and just stayed in her home, while Asgore stayed in his castle for forever. And as time went on, of course, Frisk ended up coming down and everything. And I'm just like, it's hard for me to really explain how much I do like her as a character, because it's just the fact she's such a motherly character to you. From like, you just met this woman, and she's trying to take care of you. She's trying to teach you how to like not kill. Like, she wants you to be nice to people. And even when I decided to do a genocide run, I legitimately felt like I might cry when I killed her, because I felt actually bad. And I feel like she's one of the few video game characters out there who could make me feel those type of emotions, that I actually feel horrible for killing her.
It's weird because she has like that. Despite you just meeting her, everything she displays is like this maternal feeling. Like it's hard to explain it. You know,
Like this motherly aura, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like motherly aura. Like you didn't even know she had a kid, but the way she treats you is like she treats you like a mother would. You know.
And what makes the whole concept of like her story worse is the fact that like you're not the first kid, probably, who she met. Since you, as the game goes on, you find all the other hearts and everything, and that almost makes me think about how many times does she let the kids go, or have the kids escaped from her, only for them to disappear, or her maybe even finding a way to learn that Asgore has killed them, and now they're gone forever. And that probably weighs on her even more for the fact that when you eventually fight her, that she's like, I can't let another one die. I've lost too many children to this is horrible world we're in right now. My first one, my first one, and my adopted one, and every other child that's coming from here. And she tries, but you're able to convince her to let you go. And it was very sad when you leave her. But what I like more though is like she, like, even in the game itself, it didn't say how powerful she is, but I feel like to me she's very powerful because of course when you're doing the new run of you're about to fight Asgore again, Toriel just busts through the wall and just takes out Asgore. She's like, no. Like, oh no, you're not doing this again. I'm not losing this one. This one is my child. And I will beat in. She didn't say it out like that, but I'm pretty sure she's like, I will beat you to death, Asgore. I swear to God. This is my child.
Oh.
Also, plus how she is like a funny character because she likes to do puns and everything. Like,
Just Sans daughter.
yeah.
Oh man, he opened up a Pandora's box on that one.
I love all the people who do drawings of her and all the puns she makes.
Can I actually state something real quick?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I've seen recently happen is those time skip situations where there's a sequel after the happily ever after and all that shit. You know that?
Yeah.
You know that whole situation? Yeah. Why is it that they always, every single time that happens, the fucking couple that comes together, even if they're really great together and all that other stuff, and they really are fit for each other and know how to handle their problems, all of a sudden they're just divorced and they don't like each other anymore. And it's sure, yeah, realism, but it's you built up this relationship only to tear it down for the sake of a sequel that nobody asked for anyways.
Yeah.
And that's what happened recently with the Star Wars series. I'm just oh.
It's okay. It's okay. The Star Wars won't hurt you.
Star Wars.
I mean, they gave Leia a much more I guess a natural feel to her, but in the sense that is kind of expected where her position is. But what they did to Han, it's they just completely reverted everything that he's just built up and learned and his goals and everything. Just put him back to where he was before he met Luke. Now he's back to being a smuggler for some odd reason, and then gets killed. I don't care if I spoiled it for anybody. Number one, those movies are way fucking old. I mean, not old, but they're years apart. So it's if you're spoiled by that movie, I'm glad because you don't need to watch it.
I wasn't into Star Wars anyway, so I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, whatever.
I just don't like that at all. It is constant. I don't mind it if it's here and there, but it's been such a common trend now that it's just keep these people together and keep some people apart. It's not that hard. Not every relationship has to be shit or great. That's not how relationships work. Every relationship is a case-by-case basis.
If it makes sense, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But where was I? I'm trying to remember. Give me a minute. Oh, I even like the ending of it, where at the end of the game, you're leaving the underground. You're finally free, and at the end, Toriel even asks you, do you want to maybe come live with me? I mean, she's like, you don't have to. You don't want to. I mean, I'm fine just living by myself again. It's okay. And then
I always wondered if Chris had actual parents.
They never. One thing is, Friska is just like no one knows. Like there's never been any explanation to it. Like there's always been theories, but who knows? But at the end of it, Friska's you can choose to be like yes, no, but of course, like yeah, I'm gonna pick yes. I mean, you're pretty much my adopted mother now. I'm not gonna just leave you alone. And I was even glad to see her again later on when Deltarune came out, and of course with Deltarune, that's like a whole nother can of worms with that story and whatever's going on in that universe. But it was good to see she still lived her dream even at the end of the Undertale. You saw that she became a teacher, and it was good to see in Deltarune she still was a teacher in this new universe. And she's still happy-go-lucky and everything, and like she still is a loving mother. Like even when Chris supposedly disappears for a long time, she doesn't get overly upset with you. She's just like,
you're gonna get those diehard comments. It's like, Deltarune isn't part of that canon. It's just a different universe. It's a spiritual successor, and so I'm just gonna be like, all right.
Well, that's why I even said like a different universe. If they still get bad, they still get bad, man.
I mean, that's them, yeah.
But go Reese.
I was just gonna say my thing is, Toriel's alone. I'll just give her more kids, so she won't be.
I will
alone.
get the spray bottle, Reeves.
All right.
Problem solved.
I will get the spray bottle. Where's my spray bottle? Where?
No. Oh gosh,
go in the corner. Go in the corner.
All right. Reaps, I'm glad you didn't continue that sentence.
Okay.
Go in the corner. And think about what you did.
Reaps over here doing too much. You need to calm down. You're overcooking it, man.
Oh my god.
Speaking of cooking,
I swear,
I'm getting the
sir.
spray bottle too.
I want one in the oven.
Reaps, you're cooking my grits right now.
Okay.
You need to stop.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, yeah. Continue. Yeah.
God, I'm trying to remember. God damn it. Fuck.
You were talking about Deltarune.
Yeah. Yeah, she still like she still care about you a lot. Like even to the point where, like I said, you disappeared for a long time, but you came back, and she wasn't like overly upset. She wasn't yelling at you. She was just worried, and she's like, "At least I'm happy you're back. That's fine." And to me, Toriel is like, in my opinion, one of the best moms in gaming, and one of the best old ladies in gaming as well. But that's probably debatable depending on other people, but whatever. Okay. Reefs, you're gonna
get a lot of people like Reeves who are gonna be like, excuse me, Chi-Chi is like, you only like her for the Rule 34. Be quiet.
It hurts. I don't like Chi-Chi.
I know you actually told me that you didn't like her.
I don't like her at all. There's a lot of reasons too, but I mean, the main one, she's just mean.
We'll save that for like a Dragon Ball. We'll save that discussion for like a Dragon Ball discussion one day.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man, dude, that would open up a can of worms that I don't feel like to deal with.
Well, before that,
Would you guys mind if I went next? I'm about to hop off pretty soon.
Oh yeah, sure, go.
Oh, you...
Yeah.
But just when you're done.
No, I'm done. You can go.
Oh. Okay. So I would say my next favorite one, and I just talked about this with Reaps not too long ago, like before I joined the server. Edelgard, Fire Emblem Three Houses. She's actually one of my top favorite ones right now too, because of how intense of a character she is. So she is one of three main characters that you can choose from when you as the main character Byleth enter the Church of Seros. Now, each of the three, depending on which one you pick, they go down their own route. They have their own story, and they have a preset of members that you can have on a party. But Edelgard, her route is special. She gets two. One side being her own, the Crimson Flower route, and the other side being the Silver Snow. Um, Now, the Silver Snow route, you actually go against her, kind of like in the other routes. But the Crimson Flower, you play with her, you play as her from her perspective and her side. So, just a background for those who aren't familiar with who Edelgard is. She um, she was one of the. Let's see. Let me back this up a good bit. Um, she kind of has her own agenda. She was one of those that she was one of those that were experimented on as a child for what they call crests. Uh, Now, what crests are, they give each individual wielder kind of like a special power, whether they can use magic for devastating reasons or they can be a healer. The origins of these coming from some of those in the past who were considered the saints. Um, Now, what some of the kingdoms would do, they would have they would take up their children at a very young age and try to kind of like imprint those crests into people or try to evoke a crest, like a potential crest that hasn't fully grown into their bodies yet. Now, when now you'll know someone has a crest when you see it kind of manifest on their body or manifest from their body. Edelgard was one of the only children to successfully make it through the experiments without dying, and she ended up getting the Crest of Flames. So she already had one crest, but the Crest of Flames is one of the most important ones to have. And this is also kind of this also kind of goes into Byleth, male or female. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Byleth also has the Crest of Flames to begin with. Now, what really gets me with her is that throughout the game, on the first half of the game before the time skip, she kind of plays ignorant. She doesn't act like someone who's been experimented on, and she's pretty poised. She's an upstanding person. She's a leader, and she has all of these really good qualities of someone that's that's fit to rule sometime later on when she's much older. And everybody around her respects her. Her entire house, they love her to death, and they know how dignified that she is, and some of them would even so much as die for her, like her right hand man Hubert. Um, and she has a pretty good relationships with all the other houses, but Dimitri, he is the one on the blue side. He's with the Blue Lions, and he is the heir to the King of Fargus. Now they both come kind of from the same background. The thing is, they are like indirectly related. Like Dimitri is her stepbrother, but they didn't know about this up until like recently, up in the story when they were close to being adults. So when they met each other at a young age, Dimitri actually had a crush on her, but he would never really know it. He would never really make it known to her. And they would do all these things. They would dance together. They would kind of spend more time with each other. And she gave her a dagger as a parting gift when they were about to be split up. And it was pretty much the only thing that would really keep her going, because after that moment when she parted from Dimitri, that's when she started getting into those experiments. She was taken with other children and put under those crest experiments. There's a funny little tidbit about the game. Yeah, you find out that she has a really big disdain for mice and she can't swim, and it's suspected and kind of like hinted at that rats and the inability to swim have something to do with what was done to her in those experiments. Now the other downside to it is once she actually survived that experiment, while she was very powerful and she did get the crest of flames, the cost of it was that her hair turned white and her lifespan actually decreased. So whoopsies. They wanted to use her in the future. They wanted to use her as a weapon, and also they wanted her to become an emperor. So as the story of Fire Emblem Three Houses goes on, you find out that she's you find out that she's also kind of double crossing the Church of Seros. Now, normally she plays through the missions, but when you talk to her as Byleth every so often, she'll make little hints. She'll ask you what your loyalties are to, or she'll ask you questions about like what you believe in, and she never directly asks you to join her, or she never really asks you like kind of like what would happen if I were to do this. She throws out those little tests, and based on what you tell her, it will take you down a certain route. Now, if you believe kind of in the same thing that she does, she'll start to trust you, and her supports will go up for you, and then you can take her aside once the pivotal moment happens. I think the other thing that was happening during that time was the Flame Emperor was attacking the Church of Seros. But what the thing is, no one knew, like not even Hubert, her closest friend, not even Hubert knew that she was actually the Flame Emperor. And the thing is, the Flame Emperor, he was nobody knew what the Flame Emperor was. Her voice was disguised as a man, and she wore a mask pretty much always. She was pretty much clothed from top to bottom in heavy robes, so he also couldn't even tell if she was a woman. So everybody referred to her, the Flame Emperor, as a he. And he had the Flame Emperor had 3 others with him that were going to conspire to turn people from the inside of the Church of Seros into moles, or turn them into monsters. And she knew about that. When it came time to protect the Church of Seros' chapel, which is where some of the ancient artifacts of like the old world were. These are some of the weapons that require crests to wield. The monsters actually came into attack, and we find out as we attack those monsters that some of them are composed of students that suddenly went missing a while ago. And it's really eerie too, because some of the students that you actually see walking around, like they don't really know what's going on, but they'll hint that somebody has been missing for a while, or somebody didn't graduate last year, or something like that. But as you play that mission, even with Edelgard on your side, as you're killing these monsters, they unravel, and then they reveal students inside of them. They were just turned into an amalgamate of whatever mass made the monsters up. It was pretty freaky, and it's hard to, and it's really kind of screwed up to see that her, like she knows what's going on, and she knows what her 3 other cohorts are doing as the Flame Emperor, and she wants to stop them, but at the same time she knows that she needs them to fulfill her revenge against the church and all of those who forced her to do those experiments. Now, come to the pivotal moment. This is when her forces while she's at the Flame Emperor. She has left your party by this point. So now she's the Flame Emperor. You're about to do this boss battle against her, and when you finally reach her and kill her cohorts, she kind of like asks you this really cryptic question, and it's not really. It's kind of like a way to figure out whether or not you're going to change loyalties from the church to the Flame Emperor. So depending on what choice you pick there, you'll end up going with Edelgard. She will reveal who she is, or rather, Rhea of the church. She'll reveal who she is, and inevitably, you ended up picking a side. And if you pick Edelgard's side, you find more about her. You find out more about her, that she didn't really want to do this. She really didn't want to turn these students into monsters. She didn't want to desecrate corpses just to get these weapons away from the church. She didn't want to do all of that, but she knew it was a means to an end. And that was kind of like the only way to really justify that. Now, my favorite route with her is actually the route that you fight against her in, and this is in Dimitri's route. When you go against her, she takes all of her students, and then she just kind of she asks you once more who your loyalties lie with, and you don't have a choice but to say your loyalties lie with either the church or Dimitri and the Blue Lions. And the expression that she gives is like, it's hurt when you say that too. She doesn't really say very much. She just kind of she turns around and she says, we may meet each other again, and we may not, but the next time we meet, we will be enemies. And you don't really understand the gravity of it until after the time skip. And in the time skip, she has become the emperor, and she's starting to drastically spread her forces out to the other kingdoms and absorb them. Even if it's by means of force, she will literally tear down an entire kingdom just to basically root her own empire there. And even if it meant like getting more monsters, when she took over as emperor, there were definitely a lot more monsters, and she was allowing some of her cohorts to just do whatever they wanted at that point because she stopped caring. So that time skipped when you resurfaced, and you actually have to go against her forces with Dimitri. He's got this sick obsession with her. He's found out that they were related at a point, and he's also found out that she was the Flame Emperor, doing all this stuff that really went against his code and killed so many of his friends, and he was just in a frenzy. He was nuts. He went insane. And that was pretty much the only thing that he could ever focus on. And one of the things that Dimitri wanted from her not only was her life, but he wanted that dagger that he gave her because she still kept it. Now whether or not she kept it because she still had like kind of that closeness to Dimitri, it stopped mattering once they finally met up together. She wanted to hold on to the dagger even at the point where Dimitri was about to decapitate her. He wanted to hold on. She wanted to hold on to it even after they had their little talk. Like Dimitri and Edelgard, they actually met on the battlefield. They met with a mediator just so they can talk. No fighting, no conflict, just speaking. And they gave each other their own ideals. Dimitri asked her why she did it, and she basically just said, "The church is evil. I have no other reason to remain moral at this point because of everything that I've already done." and she wants to. She turns up. She's got her back turned. She wants to repent. She kind of give these feelings that she wants to be, she doesn't want to suffer. She doesn't want to have to make all of her friends. She doesn't want to have to kill all of her friends from the academy. But she knows that she has to, and then she just leaves. Like Dimitri even brings up a dagger. It's like, why are you keeping that? And she doesn't even really have much of a valid answer. And I think that's like one of the most painful parts to watch. It's actually really interesting to see. Like there's so many different sides to Edelgard, and I think that's what really drives their character like deep for me. But even at the end of the story, with everything that's happened, if you've sided against her, she's basically done. She's killed as many people as she could. Some of the friends, whatever friends actually survived, they're all battling against her now. So at that point, she truly feels alone, and is willing to give up her body to basically a demon to conquer the entire world at that point. And so she's trying to take up a very lonely throne. She becomes a demon, like kind of like a dragon hybrid demon with only her head at the very top, and she's gigantic. And she's got this really eerie stare with these veins around her eyes, and she's just like, every time that she talks, she says really chilling things that just make your skin crawl as you're slowly approaching her in the boss battle. And she just basically says, like, all of you could have stopped this. You're on the wrong side. You're basically just going to end up repeating history all over again. And that, you could have been on the side was right. I could have been saved. This didn't need to happen to me, but it does. But it's happening now because I have a dream. I have something that I need to accomplish as an emperor. So so by that point, she is far gone. She has no more sense of self.
Oof.
Man.
Like, man, that hurts. Yeah.
That is a mess. Jeez.
So that's that side of Edelgard. But the other side, I still kind of have to like break that one down a little more. Like, I wasn't really prepared for this, so I don't really have all of my facts about that other route down. But definitely the most impactful route was the Azure Alliance route, where you fight against her. So you get to see all those different sides.
Oof.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Oh yeah.
Off.
All right. Also, Feline had to leave. It was late for him. But I did. Do you have anything like to plug in real quick? 'Cause I didn't know where to find your like links to everything because I was trying to link everyone's like stuff.
So my Twitter is just Mimic Vega. My Twitch is also just Mimic Vega. So yeah, just Mimic Vega. Anywhere you can find me.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
See ya. And Feline had to leave early, but I did put Feline's Twitter down. He does, from what I can tell, a lot of different animation stuff, and he has a Twitch as well. So that's both of those are linked down below. You can go check those out. Okay, well, it's down to 2.
It's just us.
I was gonna originally just be just anyway. Everyone else is kind of just like spontaneous, but it still was fun to have more people out here. They at least get some more opinion, like different other characters, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So,
was it my turn?
yeah, it's your turn now.
I think the second one I was gonna go for, and this was actually a little recent. I recently played this game called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice,
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
and there's a lot in that game that I can relate to, and like a lot of what Senua, the main character, goes through is a lot of stuff that I can't say that I've went through in full, but there's a lot of stuff that she deals with that I say like I can relate to. For one, a big one is like the big premise of the game is that Senua suffers from schizophrenia. Now I don't have schizophrenia, but like there are like I was diagnosed with a major depressive disorder a while back, and I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that the game kind of showcases really well, as well as showing in Senua's character, is just how it's how deep it goes. Like the game in its entirety, as well as Senua herself, it does a really good job of just like explaining like what's going through the person's mind at the time. And for Senua, the premise of the game is it's like it's almost like a damsel in distress kind of thing, but the thing is in this case the damsel's dead, and what she's trying to do is she's trying to bring him back cuz he got killed. So you travel through the entire game with her lover's head and like on her side.
Wait,
And
you say on
yes,
her side?
on her side. She has it in a bag.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is she wants to go to the underworld in order to resurrect her lover. She has to go to the underworld, pretty much get his soul, and then put his head back onto his body, so his soul will have a vessel where it could reanimate it and it could bring him back to life. That's crazy, but but the big premise of the game is that she has schizophrenia, and not just any schizophrenia. She has one of the like worst cases of schizophrenia, which she in like the game she goes through what they call psychosis, which psychosis is basically when the human brain like it it makes it to where you see things and you hear things and sometimes even feel things that are not really there, like hallucinations
Yeah.
and or hearing voices. And that's one of the biggest drawing points of the game, is that throughout the entire game, and I'm not lying, throughout the entire game you're hearing voices. You're hearing voices explaining what's going on. You're hearing voices judging you for anything that you do. You're hearing voices pretty much argue with themselves in what you're doing. So the best way to explain this is to um, say you're going to sweep. Say you're going to sweep the floor.
Hmm.
Well, these voices, imagine you're going to sweep the floor. It's a simple task, but imagine voices saying, he's not going to do it right. He's not going to do it right. And then this other voice is just like, yeah, he could do it right. It's such a simple task. It's so easy. How could he mess this up? And the other one is just like, yeah, but he's not going to do it right. He's going to mess it up. And the other one's like, what are you talking about? It's so simple. He's not that dumb. And it's just these voices that are just constantly going on throughout the whole game. Everything that you might find it annoying, and I totally understand that. But for me, it was fascinating because it shows this broken character. Like, she is broken. She lost the love of her life in a brutal way. He didn't just die. He got, like, mutilated, his body. And she has to go throughout this whole game on this sort of pilgrimage to resurrect him, and doesn't even know, like, the game, the way the game presents itself, most of the stuff that happens in that game, you would probably, it leaves it up to interpretation that this stuff's never really happening, that it's all in her head, that she's fighting demons and stuff and all that, and it's just like it could just be all in her head. And she's going on this whole pilgrimage as a weird coping mechanism to give her a reason to, I guess, like, give her a reason to live, pretty much. Like, that's pretty much Senua's sacrifice. She's going in to save her love, because her family, this is like during the older times where they didn't know what schizophrenia was, so they pretty much just cracked it up to demons and such, and they pretty much turned against her when she was young because she was hearing voices and stuff, and they were just like, well, the demons are talking to her. And there was a bit of a, like, disease that it went around, which I think they called it the rot or something like that, where people were dying a lot from that, and they thought that it was her because she was the easy target. She was the one that was like, oh, she's hearing voices, the demons are causing the rot and all that. So she was pretty much almost, she wasn't cast out, but she was like, she was treated differently. And a lot of people feared her because they thought that she was the cause of this rot. And you have to face, like, when you're playing the game, you have to face all of her demons.
All of her
and that all of her demons.
Okay, that makes sense with the gameplay I saw the one time.
Yeah, so one of the biggest ones, and they kind of explain it. Well, they don't explain it, but they give the scenario of what's going on, so you can kind of piece it together. For one, she, as a kid, believed, like, because her mom could see things that weren't really there. They said that she could see into the realm of the dead, which I believe that her mom had it too. I believe her mom had schizophrenia too.
Okay.
But she was treated as this sort of sorceress or something, and they ended up burning her at the stake. She had to watch her mom get burned at the stake. Well, she came across her mom getting burned at the stake, and her mom, in her last words, telling her, turn away, don't look, as she was literally burning to death.
Yeah.
And that shit, and not only that, after all of that, she still was being treated like, you're a witch, you can listen, you can hear demons, and it was all just hallucinations that she couldn't help. And it's really sad, it's really sad. And she came across, like, the lover that I was talking about. She was, I guess, what you would call a sheltered kid, because her dad pretty much had her brainwashed into thinking that if you do as I say, then I am the word of God, and if you do what I say, then you are doing what God says, and you can never disobey me, ever. And I mean, the game, like I said, the game goes pretty deep into her past, and he pretty much, her dad was just a control freak, and he was pretty much saying that your mom died because she had this darkness that was trying to get her, so she killed herself in order to escape the darkness. But that's not what happened. Her mom got killed by the villagers.
Yes.
And her dad was the one that was leading them to kill her mom.
Oh, that's really Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he even said along the lines of, it's just like, if you want to escape the darkness, he says, your mom died because she did what she had to escape the darkness or the demons from getting to her. And if you want to, like, escape the demons. You just do what I say so you don't have to kill yourself. Or you do what I say so we don't have to burn you at the stake like we did your mom. Essentially. And that was coming from her dad. And it's so fucked. Like, she didn't know what to believe. She didn't know. I mean, it's bad enough she's seeing shit and hearing shit. They didn't have like doctors and medicines and all that stuff back then, like to treat mental illnesses. So she didn't know what was going on, and the only light that she had was her father, who was basically manipulating her to do whatever he wanted her to do. Nothing sexual or anything like that, but just like a slave, pretty much. And it was a time where she came across this swordsman, this man who was training in the woods, and she was pretty much mesmerized by him. They say that him training, when he fought, he looked like he was dancing with the sword. Like, he was really elegant. He was really talented in how he fought. So she watched him in the forest, and she actually sort of scanned how he was doing it, and she started practicing herself, and she got really good with a sword. And one time, he kind of caught wind of her presence, and she he asked her, he's like, how did you get so good with the sword? And she's pretty much told him, I learned from watching you. And then immediately a sort of relationship was established, like a little bond. And they would go, and like he was a different light, he was a different light to her, and like one that she never knew, because like pretty much he was the only light in the whole world of darkness aside from her father. And suddenly something had went wrong, and the villagers all ended up dying, her father I think included. And she had to leave. Well, before all of that, she had to leave home, and her father pretty much told her, if you leave now with that like he didn't use this word specifically, but essentially he just said, if you leave now with that bastard, then the darkness is going to get you, and it's going to take you over, and there's nobody, not even me, can save you, essentially. And that was a time when she was breaking away. She was trying to break away from the illusion that her father had set. And her lover, like, he understood a different side of her. He understood her for being her, and he knew about like the schizophrenia. He knew about the visions and such, and he tried to help her. Like, he didn't understand what it was, but he tried to help her. And he says, he pretty much brought her up, saying, you're stronger than this. You could do this. I will help you fight these demons to the end of time. Like, he was in love with her, and she was in love with him, until he was killed and mutilated by, I'm gonna guess, either the villagers or this enemy clan that came in, sort of took everything over. So when he died, that crushed her. That messed her up, because she was already broken, and now the one person that she fell in love with died and was like torn apart. And that,
her whole life just got fucked, man.
Yeah, that sent her into this sort of thing, this sort of pilgrimage, where I honestly think that it's the entire story is her refusal to accept what happened. Where she's just like, he can't be dead. I refuse to let him die. I'm going to do whatever it takes to bring him back. And I'm going to do all this other stuff. And the whole game is you doing that. The whole game is you with this pilgrimage to bring her lover back. And I don't know if you plan on playing this game. I could spoil a little bit of it.
I will eventually play it, but it's fine either way, man.
Okay. Well, the whole thing is, like, she eventually, like, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
She doesn't get him back. And the way the game's set up, it kind of leans towards this whole thing. All the places that she goes, like she's going through all these places, she's hearing all these voices, she's meeting all these people. These people aren't really there. These voices are the only thing that's telling her or keeping her company, even though she hates them. She thinks these voices are demons trying to talk to her. And like a lot of the game, she doesn't even like pay attention to them. The base game itself, when you're just roaming around the fields, you're hearing voices constantly telling you things. Just, well, what is she doing? She's not going here. She's walking too fast. She's gonna trip. She's gonna do this. This is gonna happen. And it's just, if you ever listen to like there are simulations on YouTube for like hallucinations or voices that schizophrenic people that have that undergo psychosis will experience, and a lot of it is like it's almost like that perfectly, because it's paranoia. She's going psychosis, and like I picked up on it almost instantly. But here's the biggest thing that I like about Senua is that we've had so many games, not just female characters, but I really enjoy. We've never really had a game with a character that's that broken. Like, we've had characters that have had tragic backstories, but we've never really tackled, like, at least for me, I've never played any games that have tackled mental illnesses and actually put them in the spotlight. It's not a sort of revenge story. I've never played a game that's had where you're hearing voices, you're seeing things that aren't there, you're seeing eyes on the walls, you're remembering things that didn't happen, and it's so insane, because it just, you don't really, it's like an experience is the best way I can state it. And she goes through the ringer to get her love back. She gets beaten up. She has to conquer her fears. She has a fear of dark places. She has a fear of disobeying her father, which there are instances where her father pretty much, like, his voice is in her head telling her, like, pretty much, you disappoint me, you're a failure. She has instances where she has to fight monsters that come from the darkness, which they're just a representation of her fear of that. She has instances just like of her mother dying. I mean, it's crazy. It's a lot in that game to unpack, and I really, like I said, it's an experience. Like, I really enjoyed that about her, is because she's not just a character that had a tragic past. She's a character that's constantly experiencing, like, just torment, mental torment. That's the way I can describe it. It's just mental torment, and you have to do that through the entire game.
God, man.
Yeah, it's deep. It is very deep. I could see why people were really in love with that game. Although I have heard some comments of people saying, "Oh, they're romanticizing psychosis." I was
Well,
like, no, they are not.
The people who say that are people who didn't know they actually got, like, real professionals to help make the game. Like, people who actually understood what that is.
Like, yeah. And I was like, are you serious? Like, the last thing the game does is romanticizes, like,
I don't hear any of that being romanticized at all.
Yeah, and it does it. It pretty much shows you, like, some of the worst of what's happening, and it happens to her. She is the main character. She is the paladin of light and all that, but she's broken deep down. She is broken, and you have to experience all the demons that she has throughout her story, and that's really why I like her a lot. And this was a recent game that I played. Like seriously, I was when you asked me, I was like, holy shit, this is a character that I have to talk about, because, like, Hellblade. Now, for a game, like the stories I find really interesting, but for a game, it's really bare bones. I beat the game on hard mode and barely had any problem at all with it. But I feel like it's more. I heard people say that it is like a movie that tries really hard to be a game. Now, it's not an interactive one like what do you call those?
Like
Those
Telltale or
yeah, it's not like those. You still move around and you can go wherever you want. And when you get into fights, you still fight like a normal. It's basically the combat system reminds me a lot of God of War, the most recent God of War. It's a lot like that.
okay.
And it's just like it's crazy. Like the whole thing is just crazy, and you're literally playing with a broken character, not broken as in super powerful. You're playing with a character with a broken mind and a terrible perception on reality. Like she does not have a good perception of reality because she's just so damaged in the head. And you are going through all the shit that she's going through as you play through her story. Like, damn.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there. I eventually will get that game, but right now it's like on the bottom of the list of other stuff.
Oh yeah, it's not really like super like on anybody's wanted list. It's one of those games. It's just like it's it's more of an experience than something that you would just play over and over again. That's the best way I could explain it. It's kind of like, for me, Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, this is a totally different premise, but like Doki Doki Literature Club, I played it. Vega actually recommended it to me, and I was like, oh, this is so stupid. I hate dating simulators. And then all that shit happened. I'm like, oh,
yep.
I don't ever want to play this again.
Never finished it, because after the first one, I was like, I'm done.
Oh, my God, that game got dark.
It got real dark.
Ugh. Sheesh.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Alright, let me go with my next in. I'm going to talk about who I've been spamming a lot in, like, Twitter sometimes now with all other people. Since the Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I was happy to see Tifa Lockhart come back and look great again. Because I'll tell you right now, one of my favorite tropes for women characters are punching and then muscles are some of my favorite ones. And let me tell you what, Tifa hits all those, but plus her personality as well. Because when you first meet Tifa, like, I think my thing was, before I really started learning about Final Fantasy VII, a lot of the things I thought Tifa was like, a tough type character who was like super strong, didn't take crap for anyone. And of course she was a lot of that, but once I learned about the story and then plus playing the remake, I learned so much more about her. From understanding how she is she's a very caring person. Like, she's a very, very much caring person. To the point where, of course, like, everyone knows, like, most people know about the Final Fantasy VII story. Like, when she meets Cloud again, she starts seeing that he's a little bit different, and she's a little worried about him. So she kind of does keep a little bit of some of the little things going on secret from him. He's like, let me watch you. Like, instead of just dropping him off or, like, freaking out, she just was like, let me watch you. Like, she actually wanted to take care of her for a little bit to see if he was still the same person or not. And as the game, and then with the remake, you see that even more as the game goes through, because she keeps being like, I hope he doesn't, like, he keeps kind of wondering, I hope he don't, like, leave or anything. Because Tifa, like, when you learn about Tifa and everything, you learn that she's really been through a little bit of a lot, from having her mother died at a young age, to kind of almost dying herself at a young age when she fell off a cliff. But Cloud was able to kind of protect her a little bit, even though she was out for, like, I think 7 days. But even then later on, with the fact Cloud had to leave to go join Soldier, and then years down the road when she's a lot older, Soldier, like, does come in, and she sees Cloud's not there. And she does get sad about that. She does get, because she wanted to see him. And even then, during that time, things really kick off with Sephiroth going batshit insane
Oh yeah, I was just about to say like, yeah, them.
Killed a whole village. Her family, like her father, took everything from her, and like she even was like the whole situation was fucked for her because she thought her life wouldn't go that bad, but it went horribly. And so she was able to escape, luckily, with the help of like her teacher who taught her how to fight and everything. So that was good. But she, after that, she did not like Shinra whatsoever, which led to her becoming part of Avalanche. But even with the remake, you see her kind of be like, at times, like, are we really doing the right thing? Because after the first explosion, she starts questioning a little bit, like, are we really doing the right thing? Is this the right thing to do? Which kind of shows her character even more. Like, she wants to see change. She wants things to get better, but at the same time, is she okay with some of the things that they're gonna have to do it?
Yeah.
Which is like very interesting to see that for her character. And even then, as you play more and more, you get to see more about her. You get to understand her a lot more. And like I said, she's just a nice person. Like, generally. Like, she's not like other Punch Girl characters where she's just like rough and tough all the time. No, she's like, she's the type of girl who would sit down and just like have some tea with you. And just like ask you about your day. Just have a normal conversation.
She has a lot, like she does have a lot to her. Like, there's layers in there. Like,
there's a lot.
Yeah. Like, despite her being, I mean, she is tough to an extent, but she definitely has a softer side that actually is shown before her tougher side.
Yeah.
That's not common.
I still remember, who was it? It was one of the writers of RWBY, for some odd reason, decided to make a tweet pretty much calling her a prostitute, and I was like, "Fuck you, what? Dude." I think it was Carrie. I can't remember who it was. It was one of the main writers for RWBY. And you know why? It was because of how she dressed.
Oh my god!
And I was like, "Oh, that man got like flamed to death." Like, everyone was. I think he deleted the tweet afterwards too. Like, everyone was like, "Get out of here."
Wow. She wasn't even dressed that bad. I've seen plenty of women that are, well, I mean, not like the leather, because, you know, Final Fantasy, they love their leather and belts.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she was dressed relatively modestly. That's crazy.
Well, like, even then, like, I'm like, have you played the game, dude? Or are you just gonna judge her based off that, like, one outfit? or what? But, yeah, but what makes it funnier is that, you know, Yang, right?
Yeah.
The mapping of Yang was based off of Tifa.
Oh, wow.
So if it wasn't for Tifa, those people who are really hardcore RWBY stans wouldn't have Yang. Yang would be dust in the wind without Tifa.
Oh my gosh.
And guess what? Tifa is still a better character.
Yeah. I haven't actually gotten around to playing the new Final Fantasy VII Remake, although I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I like it a lot. It's good. Like, I know other people might have different opinions, but like, I think a lot of people's opinions have started to calm down a little bit more after it came out. Like, there was people who were really against some of the changes, but from what I can tell, it's kind of calmed down recently. Plus, since like one of the books were released to explain some more stuff, so and I'm starting to see more people kind of get hyped now because they're making hints to like some of the spin-off games might start appearing.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see. But I did enjoy it, and like I said, Tifa's one of the main reasons that I enjoyed it. I loved her gameplay, like, and I like how she, in my opinion, I found her to be legitimately the fastest character. Like, of course she is. With like, you have Cloud and Barrett, who are like, Barrett with his giant gun, he's like big and muscly, and then Cloud with his sword. And Aerith's kind of, even then, Aerith herself was still kind of slow for me. But when it came to Tifa, I loved playing as Tifa. The only problem was she kind of was the glass cannon a little bit for me. Like, she did lose health a little quickly. I'm not sure if that was because I wasn't using the right materia or equipment, but it happened a lot. But I did like playing her. And like I said, she wants. I'm trying to figure out how to word it because I know I'm doing like a disservice to her, like by not like going into more detail. Because there's like plenty of videos out there that go into more detail than I can about why Tifa is like a great character. But there's so much to her and who she is, especially when it comes to a relationship with her and Cloud. Because her and Cloud's relationship is one of my favorite relationships. Because it's based.
Like,
Oh, wait, go.
they knew each- well, sorry. I was just about to say they knew each other since they were kids.
Yeah. And even then with the new remake, they kind of hint at that she wanted to be like Cloud's friend. Because in the old games, they kind of make it seem like she wasn't exactly friends with Cloud. But that's because they didn't show too much with this one. They showed a little bit more backstory on it, and they showed she liked Cloud. She wanted to be friends with him, while Cloud was kind of like believed he was still too good for people at the time.
Yeah.
He's a kid, so like, but still. But Cloud is one of those characters, like not Cloud. Well, I actually do have to get into Cloud with him. But Cloud's one of those characters where you think he's not that, like, you think he's kind of like a not caring person, but when it comes to Tifa and their interaction, you see that he cares a lot. He's able to care a lot about people, and I feel like Tifa was the first example to really kind of show that. But yeah, and I feel bad. I didn't do a good I did like a disservice for her character, but like I said, people out there can go watch some great, like, you can find any video like discussing how great she is as a character.
She she cares deeply for Cloud because Cloud is pretty much one of the few like remnants of her childhood, like, because taken into consideration her parents are gone and
Her town's destroyed.
Yeah, her town is destroyed. Her grandmaster that taught her is gone. All of them are gone. So he's pretty much like one of the few remaining remnants of that, and of course she cares deeply for him because that's a part. Like, Cloud's become a part of her, and I think she's become a part of him. And like, despite Cloud, like the later depictions of Cloud, he's sort of this gloomy character. But I'm seeing in the remake they're actually kind of making him more like they're giving him more than just like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, I'm sad. Like, they seem, from what I've seen in the remake, I can't speak for all of it. Like I said, I haven't played it, but it looks like Cloud is less emo in the remake, if I could even put it that way.
But like they're kind of just making Cloud's personality from the first one and just kicking it up more, like really showing it a little bit more. Because even then, he's still similar to like his first incarnation.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like people seem to think Cloud's this like sort of gloomy guy, but I mean, he actually he's got a little bit of confidence to him.
I mean, here's the thing: I can't blame him for being gloomy because his life also is kind of fucked.
Oh yeah, especially with what happened to Zack.
Oh, yep.
That's another story.
That's a story for another day. But God, I had something just. Oh, another thing that makes to add on to the whole friendship thing. Without Tifa, Cloud would have probably stayed a comatose vegetable forever because of the whole manga poisoning in the old game. Because as they fell through the live stream, she pretty much helped them put its pieces back together, learn about what really happened and who he really was, and to learn about who Zack was to him. So without her, he kind of would have just stayed a vegetable forever, and that helped to even show their friendship even more.
Have you played Crisis Core?
I know, yeah, no, but I know the story.
Yeah. Because that did a pretty good thing of explaining. It's kind of funny seeing Zack can interact with Tifa.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of cute the way that those two like interacted with each other, because she was still kind of the same way with Zack, but like, again, I think she was still kind of iffy on Soldier anyway, even while younger. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I don't know if I can say Cloud admired Zack or not, but I don't know how that would play into like how she saw Zack. Like she's like, oh well, the person that I really care about, that's like family to me, admires you. Does that mean that I should too, or is that just mean I should just treat you any differently?
Well, even then, she didn't even know like about the Zack thing until like later.
Like,
Well, until the whole live stream thing, until they fell in, and she's like, "Wait, you were there with Zack the whole time, and you just hid yourself from me? Oh, jeez." Because even then, I think at one point, well, I'm not sure if. I mean, I'm not even gonna say that one because I still don't know all the different routes when it comes to like character interactions you have with like the old game for like different party members. If you go take certain people into certain areas, they always have different interactions. But I think that's really all I gotta say left. But all right. So what's your next character?
what have I covered? I covered Samus and Senua, so I guess the next one would be Red
Okay.
from the Transistor game.
Yeah.
Which Transistor is not really it's not really the most popular game out there, but I loved it. It is an indie. I think it's made by Supergiant, and I mean it's very artistic and like very musical, and the game itself, it's more like a, how do you say it's like a RPG, but it's like the way it's a weird game. The battle system's weird. Like you get different chips, and each chip is like a move, and if you can like put like every chip has its own slot and all that. I mean, I'm not talking about gameplay. The thing is believe it or not, it's a lot like Senua's, where it's another love story. And what happened with her was she had a love of her life. Now, my memory on like the plot is a little hazy, so you might want to take it with a grain of salt. But I remember that she really loved this guy, and she kind of came across some sort of organization or something that was going on, and they ended up killing her love and his like stabbing him with a transistor. I think that's what it was called. Basically, the sword that you see her with the big eye, that's her lover.
Oh, I never. That's like that's fucking like the new Bionic Commando game.
Yeah,
with that concept anyway.
It starts off with you at his side after he got stabbed and died. Because when he died, he got stabbed by that sword. When he died, his, I guess, soul or essence was trapped inside of the sword. And, like, he's even, like, talking, like, what happened? Oh no, I'm in the transistor now. Oh god, what happened? Why is this happening? And she, like, I guess some sort of traumatic. I think it may have either been that, or she used to be a singer, like a really well-renowned singer for this like organization, and she stopped singing and she pretty much stopped talking altogether. But she still hums her songs. Like if you go on YouTube right now, you type in like Transistor OST humming, you'll hear all the songs in the game with her just humming through them. And I gotta admit, I fucking love it. It is so melodic and it is so beautiful how like the music is played in that game. And throughout the whole game, she's going through basically getting revenge on the organization that's responsible for her lover's death. And her lover pretty much, those two were trying to overthrow this like corrupted organization, and they ended up killing him. And the whole game, she's pretty much getting revenge on them, and she has her lover trapped in her weapon throughout the whole game. and it talks to you and everything. She doesn't talk, but it talks, and it kind of explains what's happening. And I mean, through certain memories of just like, remember when this happened, remember when we used to do this. It's touching. It's really touching. And she is, it's not like I like to call it like the God of War revenge, where it's like just unrelenting rage trying to do whatever it takes to get revenge. This is a revenge that's sort of like a sort of justice-y kind of revenge. Like, you like they killed her, they took her love away from her, and she's still going on like trying to overthrow them. Like, her revenge falls in line with her main objective to take this organization down, because they're causing problems for everybody and they're really corrupted. And the sad part about it all is just like, it the transistor, her lover, throughout the game, he's explaining all of the fond memories that they had, and it's just it's very sad and touching, and she's still going. Like, it kind of sort of deepens the feeling or the mood for the game the further you progress, because you start to understand why she loved him so much and why he loved her so much, because they had so many fond memories. And it's just like the game just starts off like, normally you'll have the characters kind of connect throughout and the character might die in the end. This one's like pretty much flips that on its head and starts off with her lover dying, and she has to go through the entire game. It's like it starts the end first and then just works all the way through from a relationship perspective, instead of just like a full-blown narrative. You know how some of them just like, it starts you off in a flashback sequence? No, it starts you off in the present and sort of explains what's happening as you go. And her character is just like, when you get towards the end, you start to understand that she would do whatever it takes to be with him again. And that, I don't know if you plan on playing that game. This is spoiler territory now.
I'm not sure if I actually will or not with that one.
After they end up stopping the organization, rather than like go on and try to live her life, she eventually just stabs herself with the transistor against her lover's will.
Oh.
He was saying, don't do this, just move on, find somebody else or find love, just live your life, pretty much. Like, it's already too late for me. And she just throws it all away. She throws it all away. She ends up stabbing herself and then puts her own soul in the transistor so she could be with him, essentially, I guess, for eternity. And it's just, like I said, it's very touching, because she just, like, it's the sort of love story she just like throws it all away. And it's not like a sort of love story where it's just like, oh well, I have to be with this person, I can't live without him. It's sort of like that, but it's also like, justice has been served, and now I don't really have anything else to go for except to just do this. Like, she's felt like she was left with this last choice just to be with her lover, and she just went through with it. It's a very touching game. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. So one of my friends in my chat just said a Romeo and Juliet travesty.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like, it is very much like that. Just so she just can't accept living a life without him. And like, the game, like I said, the game pretty much shows, it explains how deep their relationship was, just so it could have a lot more impact. It's not just something like, oh, like a first time romance. Like, you could tell these two deeply loved each other. not just as lovers, but as like friends too. It's crazy. But I really like that. Like I guess I am for mushy stuff like that at the time. If it's done right, if it's not like too cliche,
Yeah.
but also like tragedy, that's just I feel kind of iffy about that too because I was just like I can't take it. My heart can't take it. It's too sad. Oh gosh. But I think that's pretty much it. That's really all I have to say about her.
Okay. Well, then my next character I'm going to talk about is a character from the Persona series, notably Persona 4, Nato Shirogane. Hopefully I said that last name right. She is one of the characters in the fourth game who becomes part of your group, who becomes one of the playable characters you could play as, and one of the characters you can even like romance in the game. But what I like about her character so much is pretty much her story, because what revolves around her story is that when you first meet her, a lot of the characters think she's actually a guy because of how she's dressed. Like she dresses in pretty much a detective's outfit, like her own version of a detective outfit, and even how she presents herself. And even her hair, even like she has short hair and everything, so the whole time everyone thinks, oh, she's a guy. And as you play through the game, she starts like trying to piece stuff together. She starts realizing you guys are also like your character and his friends are also part of this whole weird situation that's going on, this murder mystery. And at one point, she also gets well, let me first explain this. In Persona 4, some weird things are going on where when a fog appears, usually it leads to death. Because the first time when your character appears in the town, he comes in and someone ends up dying. Like, they find their body on a power line. And later on, it happens again. And you and your characters and your friends realize, oh, could this be a correlation? Is this like a serial killer thing? And and you later on learn that this only happens when the mist comes, like when it's going to be a mist the next morning. Not mist. I messed that up. It's fog, not mist. But sometimes it's the same thing to me. Whatever. But still, a fog appears and someone dies. So as the game goes on, you start making sure all your friends don't, like, whoever gets caught doesn't die. Because what happens is they get thrown into the TV world, which is pretty much where you go to unlock your abilities, like your persona, pretty much, which is another part of yourself, like a part of yourself you need to accept. And and you eventually get all your party members together, and the last party member you need to get is, well, Nato. And the whole thing with Nato is, like, she is a girl, she's a woman, but she doesn't want to be in that way because people don't take her seriously. Like, because she's a detective, so, like, she wants to be great. She wants to be a great detective, but all the older, like, male policemen are like, oh, no, you're just, like, a little girl here. Like, get out of here. Like, you're nothing. And so that's why Nato eventually changed her look. Like, because she wanted to prove that she can do this, even if it means she has to pretend to be a boy. And with her dungeon, it's her dungeon trying to accept that who cares who you are? You shouldn't have to change yourself to prove to these people how great you are. And you end up finding her shadow, of course, which is like, your shadow pretty much is like a part of you that is like, how the best way to describe a shadow? Shadows are more or less things that you repress, like things you don't want to talk about, things that you don't want to accept, but like over exaggerate it. Like, let's say,
like Silent Hill.
Yeah. Well, let's say I'm trying to think. Or let's say you have. I'm really trying to get a good example. Like how to really specify it. Like for. Oh god, this is a lot harder than I thought. I don't know how they're able to come up with all the shadow ideas sometimes. But let me go with one of the characters again. Like with one character known as Kanji. Kanji is one of the other characters in the game who you get before him. I mean, before you get Nato. Kanji's thing is people treat him like he might actually be gay because of how he behaves. Because he likes to sew and do all this other stuff that to people are like, that's not manly. So he changed up his whole look. He made a punk rock look. He gets in fights and everything. He beats people up all the time. And when you go into his dungeon, you meet his shadow. And his shadow is like this very exaggerated, flamboyant version of him. That's like, he's like, I love guys. I like this. I like that. And Kanji's like, that's not me at all. And after you beat the shadow, Kanji accepts that, yeah, I do things that aren't exactly masculine. Like, I do like to sew. I do like to do these things. And that's pretty much like what happens when you meet your shadow. Like, you need to accept who you are. Like, that shadow isn't you exactly, but it is a part of you. And if you don't, it will end up killing you. But and that's what happened with Nato. Nato's shadow was like, oh, we're gonna change your whole gender. Like, Nato's like, no. Like, this isn't me. But after that, she does start accepting herself. She starts realizing who she really is. Like, she shouldn't have to change her gender to prove points to people. Which I really like about her character. Like, accept who you are. And as the games go through, she does start to change her look a little bit, including if you start dating her, she eventually wears like a school uniform or anything, and you see how she is. You even notice how she does try to deepen her voice a little bit. And even then, after a huge time skip, you see her again, and she's wearing more feminine clothing, but not like super hardcore. But she's still dressed like professionally, but in a feminine way. But she still has like short hair and everything. She's not wearing like bindings anymore. She's accepting who she is.
I feel like that's misunderstood these days.
What?
Just well, I'll go after you finish.
I'm trying to think of what else to add here because with me, like I said, I will specify this for anyone in the podcast. My mind is like a mess, so when I'm trying to put things together, I can't sometimes, so I might come back to rambling or me repeating certain things over again. So I'll apologize that now. But I think that's really all I can really think of for Nato. Really, I do admit I get tired of like how people do still misunderstand her character and take okay, let me get this out of the way now. There are certain groups of people who still like to use Nato as a trans icon because of the whole she pretended to be a guy, and they don't want to listen to that other part of the story and just be like, no, she's trans because she wants to be a guy. It's like, no, that's not part of Nato's story. She pretended to be another gender to get accepted by people. She didn't change it because she felt like it. Like, she felt, oh, I'm a man. No, that wasn't her whole character arc. But apparently to other people apparently to some people that doesn't matter. They want to get rid of that part. But go on to what you're going to say, Reeves.
Oh, people still like treat any person that acts like the opposite sex as trans. They even treat people like, this is jumping into different territory. You've heard Fudanari.
Yeah.
They treat them like trans, when really they're just hermaphrodites. Really, there's no gender dysphoria or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
So it's just a huge misunderstanding that it's not really helpful. It's not really a helpful perspective to just kind of put that label on everything that kind of that sort of defies a like norms. Honestly, it comes off as sort of like a blanketed statement to just call everything like that
like X or Y.
Yeah, it's really black and white to see things that way. Like, if I'm starting to see like an uprising, people saying, like, using the term cross-dressing.
Yeah.
Before, like, I don't even know how many years ago, but that was considered an offensive term.
Really?
But Yeah, cross-dressing, that was considered an offensive term, and the reason why is because people were using it to describe trans people. But now it's being used specifically to describe a person that is not trans, that just wears the clothes of the opposite sex.
I mean, that's
Like,
what cross dressing is to begin with, though.
that is precisely what cross-dressing is to begin with, but it's just it's misinterpreted, just like a lot of other things these days, and people just, I guess, just want to fight about it for for
Well,
God knows what reason.
well, not to get too much into it, but like a lot of it, from what I could tell, are just people who like get upset about it because there are people who are assholes who would like call them this or that, like call them those terms, and they would just run with it and be like, because I was called this term, that means it's overall bad. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Those people were assholes, but that's terms not used for this.
Like, it's already weird enough that people try to find the term trap offensive, but the thing is, I don't know anybody who uses that word to describe another person. Like, okay, get this. So you have, like, typically they are often used in not safe for work content, but in real life, to use the term like fuda, you wouldn't call a person who's a hermaphrodite a fuda. You wouldn't call a trans male or female a trap. It just comes off as weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost as if you're calling a person who is very perverted like a hentai, which
Well,
it comes off as weird and it doesn't sound natural at all. But people want to make it to where it sounds like, oh, it's offensive. But I'm like, who's really using these terms in an offensive way? Because if they do, it makes them look weird. You know, it's not something that we've all decided as a society. It's just a tagline on something else. It just sounds odd, you know?
Yeah, but even then, trap is not. Even then, trap is still just another form of cross dressing.
Yeah, that is what it is. A lot of like traps in games and anime, a lot of them are like, a lot of them will openly say that they are they identify as the gender, like alongside with their sex. Like there is no dysphoria. A lot of them like
I've one that comes to mind is the Alstalfos.
yeah, Astolfo. He does not have gender dysphoria. He just dresses very femininely. People call him a trap, but that's there. He's not trans. He is like, whether he is cis or gay or whatever, that is irrelevant. But when it comes to just his appearance, people automatically want to jump on the trans train, which I see where they're coming from, but I still feel like it's incredibly misguided. And it, like I said, it's like a blanketed statement to just put a label on something that people don't really want to think about. They don't want to think about a guy, a person, a man that identifies as a man wearing like feminine clothes. They just don't want to think about it. They're just like, oh yeah, well they're this, you know?
Yeah.
But as far as like with games, they've been doing this for a while, you know? Like, they've had a lot of like quote unquote trap characters, and people just
Or like cross dressing characters as well.
cross dressing characters, essentially, yeah. And they don't, typically people that are usually on Twitter, they've either never played these games, or they just simply don't want to acknowledge them, or maybe they just forgot about them. You know? Kind of reminds me of the time when, what were we saying?
I say that's what like Nato is. That's why I went to Nato, is like people don't want to accept like her character arc.
Yeah. Like, shoot, I remember this game called Enchanted Arms, and it was on the Xbox 360, and it later came into the PS3. But you had this one character in there who, his name was Makoto, and he dressed incredibly feminine. Now you could still tell, like he was like male, but he identified like he was a homosexual male, but he wore very colorful and feminine clothes, but he never really like referred to himself as anything but male, and everybody else referred to him as such. So I'm just wondering. I was like, if anybody's actually played that game, would you call him trans, even though he's calling himself a male? Like that.
Well, even then, that's what they still do that even with Astolfo's. Like Astolfo's called, like has his Sid. He's a boy. Like he's a guy.
Yeah. Who else? There was another character. The Felix. Felix is another. The cat boy.
Felix the cat. What?
He's another character. He's like another character in the same boat as Astolfo. Like a boy that like dresses very femininely, and people assume his name is Felix. I forget where he's from too. I think it was like ReZero, if I'm remembering. I can't remember.
God, I might be thinking of a completely different Felix completely.
Oh, but I mean, it's just a lot of it's just a big misunderstanding these days, and it comes off as almost insensitive in a way, because like there's a huge gray area that apparently people just don't want to acknowledge. They just want to. The one thing I will go on the record in saying is I hate labels.
Yeah.
I've never liked them. I've never liked them in people explaining things or putting them on other people. I just feel like there's a lot more to a person than very concrete, solidified labels to sort of create a sort of like attitude towards them where people would get. I just never enjoyed it, and that also goes in terms of games. You know, that goes into terms of games and movies and just any sort of media, where people just want to put all these labels on people. And I was like, there's a lot more to their personality than these labels you're placing on them. It's kind of like the person you just explained, where you said it yourself. She pretty much did things and tried to, I guess, come off as a guy just so she could get like people would take her seriously, and that's a part of her that she wants to be like. I guess it's a part of her that she wants to be respected, and she wants her hard work to be shown, you know?
Yeah.
But to simply just jump on one label and just put that label on her, it's like it almost denotes everything that she has gone through.
Like that, everything that's worked up to that moment.
Yeah, it completely, like, it's like getting a beautiful poem and the person just balls it up and throws it away and says, yeah, this is what this was about, you know? Yeah. But I mean, there's like a whole damn essay you could probably write on that, on people's views. It's just, it's crazy. And the sad part about it all, though, is like I have a lot of trans friends that will also say the same thing, where they're just like, this is not right. This is just, these people are just either exaggerating or they're just not understanding at all the premise of these characters. And like I said, I mean, I was talking, I know we're going on a huge tangent. I'm sorry.
You're fine. I mean, it makes me feel bad, like, after we do our last two ones, that goes into, this somewhat does go into the last part of the conversation.
Well, I mean, I was talking with a friend who seems to be against, like, a lot of, like, stuff that is trans related. But I'm like, I told him, I was like, I don't really think you quite understand. It typically people pick the worst examples and then kind of identify the entire community with it.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. Because there's a lot of people that are like open-minded or just normal, quote unquote, like people that don't jump into the bullshit, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just trying to do me, and like I also see bullshit, and I'm gonna call it out. But typically, they're the ones who are kind of out yelled by the idiots that kind of want to be offended by everything.
Yeah, that's what happens. Is vocal minority kind of takes over.
Yeah, you have people that are just trying to talk for you. That's essentially what it is. The people that are trying to speak for you, and essentially they end up getting everybody to hate you even more.
Oh, pretty much.
That sucks.
That's a whole that's a whole nother podcast idea for another time. If I could find someone to do that with us.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a good topic.
Shoot.
But
you mind if I, or you want to go in the last one? But you mind if I go into the last one real quick?
Yeah.
Like my last character.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can do your last one.
I really like Jill Valentine, and the reason why is because like now I know Resident Evil 3 remake's out right now, and I've heard that it has not exceeded expectations for a lot of people. Not really for plot, more so for gameplay and what happens. But I think the reason why I like Jill Valentine is sort of the same reason why I like Samus. Well, I don't really know her backstory all the way to when she was younger, but I do know that she is a survivor. She's done everything that she could to live, like having to fight a force that she's never faced before, like zombies and BOWs, or basically we'll just call them monsters, things that you don't ever see on a normal basis. And she's came out like canonically unscathed, because from what I heard, I don't think any of despite you getting bit in the games, all the characters in the games, with the exceptions of a few, they're not immune to the virus.
Yeah.
So they like she's gone through all that pretty much unscathed, and or maybe she's gotten like knocked around a little bit. But I mean, she got betrayed by her commanding officer, who essentially tried to leave her for dead, or let this big monster trying to kill her. Like she's went through quite a bit in the first game. You know, in the first game she went through, and then they make it to where she has to go through another outbreak, which is even worse than the outbreak was in the first game, which the first game was just a mansion. Resident Evil 3, she has an entire city of zombies that she has to deal with, including one asshole who's a super fucking zombie who's trying to kill her, who knows how to use guns. Like, you can't make this shit up. Like, she is a very badass female protagonist, and I think that from what I have seen, it seems like they kind of go into a sort of PTSD segment of the remake. I haven't actually got into like a lot of the, like, I'm trying not to spoil myself because I plan on getting the game, but from what I've seen, the segment of where she's looking in the mirror, I think that is a very nice sort of like push towards her, because she had gone through a lot. She had to watch all of her comrades get ripped to shreds and then reanimated and trying to kill her. That's fucked, you know? And she had to also go through, like, seeing, like, not only being betrayed, but having to go through another instance. And even after Resident Evil 3, she's in, what, Resident Evil 5?
Yep.
After, they thought that she was dead, and then she kind of got taken over or controlled. Now, my memory's a little off about this one, but I think that the reason she has blonde hair now is because some sort of virus that they put, when they mind controlled her, it turned her natural hair like blonde or something like that. But I take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't play 5.
But with the new Jill Valentine, I'm a little iffy on her. Not gonna lie, like the remade one.
Yeah.
I've heard comments that have pretty much came off as just like, oh, well, she's kind of the sort of stereotypical I don't need no man to do cool things or something like that, which that in and of itself comes off as forced.
I'm gonna tell you now, from what I've seen, no, that doesn't really come off as that at all.
Okay, I'm going off hearsay from certain people.
I would say when you get the game, go watch and you beat it. Go watch if I'm correct, I say your name correctly, Sphere Hunter, because she's a big.
Oh, I love Sphere Hunter.
Yeah, she did a review for it.
I watched her non-spoiler review. I don't want to watch her spoiler review because I hate spoilers.
Yeah,
but I love Sphere Hunter.
I would say she's one of the few who could really kind of give out a good opinion in a way, because her review didn't feel like biased or unbiased. It I felt unbiased in a way where like she does love the series, but even she can tell like when something's wrong.
Yeah, and I think I really like her, and I like Inkribbon. I don't know if you heard about his channel.
Nah.
Like you could tell that they love the franchise, and honestly, like with Sphere Hunter, I trust her more because, like you said, she points out bullshit when she sees it. And I think that's really good. That's really good to do as a fan. But that's exactly. I should probably watch the spoilery one, but just not the whole video because I don't want to know everything before I play it.
Yeah, but before we continue, let me answer one of my friends right here. Yes, I know the lines are cringy, but come on, you have to love the Resident Evil series, man. You have to take the cringe with it. You gotta have those one-liners. They're gonna be bad, but you gotta love them.
My favorite one. Besides, like, people keep talking about like the Jill sandwich joke, but have they forgotten the one where he gives you the damn gun? This is a gun. It's very powerful, especially against living things. Like, no shit, Sherlock. It's a fucking gun.
You gotta take your dialogues. Come on, Resident Evil's gonna always have those like weird dialogue moments. It'll feel weird if they don't.
I basically treat all the Resident Evils like these sort of like cliche B-rated action flicks, where they have all the cheesy one-liners. It's just it is a treat playing through their original Resident Evils before. I forget if they remade 2 before on the GameCube. I can't remember.
No, they only did 1 first, and then 2 came out like just last year.
And then they had Resident Evil 0, which is, in my opinion, was hard as fuck. Fuck that game. The game was hard as hell for me. And that's actually that one and Code Veronica, the only 2 Resident Evils I've actually really struggled with beating. But, oof, I ain't gonna go off on that tangent.
Yeah. Alright, my last one is, this one is, I like a lot because I wanted to play the game for a long time, and after, I know it was going to be a hot take moment, it's my first podcast, so people might not like this. I played Breath of the Wild and did not like it, and sold it, and instead bought Horizon Zero Dawn, which had my last favorite character, Aloy. And let me tell you what, Aloy is a really good character, and I was happy with my decision to buy Horizon Zero Dawn. Because when you first meet her, she's a character who wants to explore. Like, she wants to see the world. She doesn't want to stay cooped up in like their little village, because in Horizon Zero Dawn is the far future. Some shit happened. Machines are everywhere now who act like animals, but now everyone's like secluded in different areas and everything. But with Aloy, she's like, I want to explore. I want to go out there. And of course the village is like, no, you can't do that. That's against the rules. That's against if I'm correct, our religion. Like, no, you have to obey. And as time goes on, Aloy is just like, oh, this is so stupid. Which I like, because she's not like... It's like, some characters are always like obedient, but every time Aloy... She's obedient, but she really hates it. She's like, this is stupid. Like, because even then, as like, not to get spoilery, because like I decide I'm gonna start streaming that game, but some stuff happens later on where they start thinking she's like the savior, and Aloy is still just like, this is so fucking stupid.
What?
Like, I'm not the savior of anything. I'm a normal person like everyone else. Which is well, like her, because she's just like, I don't like this. Let me just explore. That's all I want to do. Go out in the world and explore, and see the world. Which I like, really like.
Oh god, it's female Riku. Except she didn't turn to the darkness. At least I don't think so. I didn't play all the way through it.
In what?
Horizon.
Oh.
I didn't play through it.
Oh no, she didn't turn to darkness or anything like that.
I should probably go back to that game.
It's a good game.
But
I went.
like,
oh, sorry. Go.
I was just gonna ask you, like, her story, like, what builds her.
What builds her? That one's kind of really hard. Not really hard. More or less, I'm just really need to think about it. Because what builds her more is in the fact that I feel like she wants to explore and also prove herself. Because in one part of the game, she does kind of somewhat technically, like, don't get me wrong, I haven't played in a long time, that's why I'm gonna replay it, but I think she did get like exiled from her village after like some incidents happened, and if I'm correct, I'm trying to remember, did he die? I think her dad did die, because this is the beginning of the game, mind you. So he ended up, I can't remember, either severely getting injured or dying. But whichever, she ended up leaving. And she does go exploring. Like, what drives her is more in the fact of, I feel like it's a new world to her. Like, she wants to expand everything. Like, she wants to expand her right. Well, the corny of it is Horizon. Yes. I know, it's stupid. I didn't think about it until the words were already coming out of my mouth.
No, you're fine. I love it.
But that pretty much is the point. Like, she wants to explore her horizon. I feel like that's what drives her.
Yeah.
Like, she's like an amazing character, and I really wish more people will play it. That's why I'm happy the PC version, I think, is either out now or coming out. I think. I don't quote me on that. I cannot remember. It's either out or coming out.
I thought the game's been out for a while. That's why I'm so surprised.
Yeah, but I'm happy it came on PC. It's coming out on PC, so more people can enjoy and play it. It's like a good game.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Well, that was it. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I'm still pissed that Death Stranding hasn't come out to PC yet.
Well, it's gonna come out a little bit later because of the corona.
Oh yeah.
But that was really it for when it comes to like our female characters. But I wanted to go into the main reason I decided to have this topic. And don't worry for anyone who might be worried about it. We're not gonna spoil it at all. But it's from the whole Last of Us 2 situation that's happened recently.
Oh yeah.
And here's the thing: some of those, like, I'm not even talking about the leaked designs. Like, designs were already shown. Like, some of the design for characters were already shown in like articles and stuff like that. I even linked like one article that showed some of the designs. And let me tell you what, those designs are not great. And I learned why from the guy who, let me make sure before I say, Neil Druckmann. He's the vice president of Naughty Dog. And the article I'm talking about is Naughty Dog made female characters less feminine to be trans-friendly.
What?
Yes. And let me get to the point of this is, for quote, this is the only, from the quote from himself, he added, "This is only true for trans people. A trans woman can't naturally grow large breasts, and not all trans people can afford implants. If you see a game where the women are a little less curvy, it's not because the game designers are worried about receiving backlash for sexualizing women. It's because they are worried about offending the trans community. From a design standpoint, this is really challenging problem. I've had many board meetings about how to tackle this. Trans people want realistic representation in our games, but they feel excluded if they are represented as too masculine or too feminine. That's why you will see a lot of designers nerfing the female form, so to speak, so that the difference between trans women and cis women is a little less noticeable.
What?
After reading that pissed me off so much, I had to make a tweet about who's your favorite female character, because fuck this, man.
Oh my... Okay, first of all, Ellie is not trans. That's the first thing. Yes, she is lesbian, but that does not mean that she is trans. Why they're trying to change her form to appeal to to cater to an audience does not... It's not helping at all. That's just stupid.
And people in the article itself, it did show off the designs, and you see they drastically changed some of the character models.
Like, they didn't even need to give her big boobs, but don't like make her masculine just for the sake of... That's changing a character. That's changing a pre-designed character.
Well,
into something else.
As I said, it was gross. It felt really gross reading that. I'm like, that, like, his whole statement makes no sense, because I'm like, why not just make characters? Why not just make trans characters? Isn't that a lot easier?
It really is.
It's
really
is that simple.
Like, oh my gosh, that is not helpful at all. You know, I forget who it was. There was another tweet by one of the voice actors that he said something along the lines of, "We want you to go into The Last of Us 2 with an open mindset, because things will happen and you just gotta not have prejudgments of the game." But I'm like, first of all, it sounds like he's having the prejudgments of the audience's expectations, first of all.
Yep.
Second of all, how can you expect people to have an open mindset when you yourself don't? You know? Like trying to force either tropes or trying to force things that just aren't in, like, just make a trans character and make them natural. You know, you don't have to call so much attention. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes just having a trans person in and have them do something that doesn't, like, that's a lot, you know. That could go a long way. Instead of, oh, look at this person. This person's suddenly the main character of the game, or this person does all of this stuff, and you're like, who the fuck is this person? This is not why I'm playing Last of Us, you know?
Yeah.
And with Ellie, like, besides the whole thing where people are just like people are going crazy over the whole like kiss thing in the trailer. To be honest, the trailer did seem kind of forced in a way. I felt like they could have did better with it, but also like y'all did not play the DLC, did you?
I had no. Yeah, I feel like people forgot like the DLC talked about like.
Yeah, she kissed a girl in the DLC when she was a kid. The fuck did y'all think? I mean, damn. I kissed a girl and I liked it having ass. But, but I mean, that's so backwards. I hate that. I really do. I hate when they try to change characters to pander to an audience when they could just make another character to represent that audience.
Well,
you know?
Even then, like this is bad pandering because it doesn't even make sense. Like his whole statement made zero sense. It's like, and even then I brought up like, why do you only care about trans women? What about the trans man? Shouldn't you also change the guy designs too?
You don't care.
Oh, I know they don't. I 100% know they don't care.
It's like that SpongeBob meme where they said when you try to represent the LGBT and he's just like, and you see Mr. Krabs saying I did it for money.
I've never even seen that meme, but that makes sense for a meme.
Yeah. Although I think now it's the LGBTQ plus.
It's been like that for a while for that one.
So, but I mean, like they just it's pandering, and I think they're just doing it for money. And not only that, I've heard other things going on where workers were leaving because of the sort of job culture
Yeah.
where there was a bit of a divide in it, and I'm like, God damn! Like, how many fucking this is it's disconnected. That's the best way I can describe it. It's disconnected. It's disconnected with society. It's disconnected with the way that regular ass people think. You know?
Yeah.
Like, not everything is a black and white war zone in the world. Yeah, shit happens, and yeah, we need to call attention to it, but that doesn't mean that every fucking body is either black or white. Not like color, but like just in terms of their views. God, that just annoys the hell out of me.
Also,
and like I said, oh, sorry.
I mean, also it says when he says like nerfing the female form, like, isn't that alienating your female audience?
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. Alienating your damn. You're putting one audience down for the other. Remember that time when we had the whole like big feminist situation where women weren't getting depicted in games, and now suddenly you're just gonna throw all that away? I guess you forgot about that.
Well, that's why
you got another problem on your hands.
Well, that's all because like that's what leads into this part of like Daniel. No, wait, did I say his name correctly? I want to make sure I say his name. No, Neil. Neil is good buddies with our good pal Anita Sarkeesian. And if I'm correct, if I'm correct from what I've heard, she did help somewhat with the game.
Oh, she's not dead yet?
Oh God, don't say that.
That's cold. God, she's not helped.
We'll get shut down.
Yeah, she's just not helped.
Oh no, that's where she's one of the reasons she started these issues.
Yeah, just God damn it. God, there's a whole story there. Then it's just anytime you hear her name, it's usually followed by tragedy.
It's like, really her.
I honestly totally forgot about her.
Well,
until you brought her up.
Oh yeah, because she was part of she helped out with that, and she's apparently good buddies with Neil. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense why this is like this.
Oh, so yeah, I don't know. I'm probably coming off as an asshole. It's just from a lot of the shit that she said in the past, and a lot of the way she sees the world. It's very contradictory.
You can't even say in the past. She still kind of believes that stuff.
Oh God! It's very contradictory. It's more harmful than anything. But
well, even with her first talk, I think she did a TED talk for it. I can't remember if it was a TED talk or something. I do remember seeing the video, but her whole talk about women in video games and how there's not really that great many representations. It felt like I'm like, you haven't played that many games, have you, ma'am? Because you legitimately, and even then she was using oh, they're sexualized and stuff like that, taking out, trying to say, oh, these are bad characters because they're attractive looking. It's no, people and as this whole podcast did, we talked about, we like their personalities and the things they do.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Let's go.
Oh no, you can go. Oh.
Well, I was gonna say there are characters who have interesting designs, but I don't like them. You can look sexy as you want. If your personality's garbage, I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah, with the whole Tifa situation, when she first got announced, people were talking about her bust size. You know how I saw that?
Oh.
I saw that as, I feel like during the time, now I was more in favor for the original model, but the reason why, and yeah, I might be a huge perv, I'm not gonna lie, I'll say that, but I also feel like women, or anyone, comes in different shapes and sizes. And just because a person may have large breasts, that's natural. That's natural. You know, why are you trying to reduce it just because you think that people are like fetishizing over it? And it's just like, yeah, people are gonna do that, but you know what? People fetishize over everything. People fetishize over fucking Toriel, and that's a damn goat woman.
I mean, I don't have a whole bunch of saved things.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like, it's natural. So why try to treat a natural, like, physical attribute on a person? Why try to treat that as a sort of bad thing? I'm like, what are you gonna do? Every woman that has large breasts in the world, you're gonna treat them like shit? Is that what's gonna happen?
If you go on Twitter and if
They
you see
make
that.
up that. But,
If you go on Twitter and if you see that.
oh yeah, I see it. I'm just like, I'm on your stream too, but I'm like, I think that, like, and like I said, maybe you take my opinion with a grain of salt because of just you know how I am, but also I still stand by the. I think that people should just treat things that are natural to just be like that. Not every there's. I mean, I guess if we have a person with a huge ass fucking dick, and every time they move around they have this big ass bulge, are we gonna hate every guy with a big dick? Like, it's something that these people were born with, and it's something that it's just a part of their design, and that's really it. That's really what it boils down to. You know, even when I was a lot younger, I still didn't really, believe it or not, I didn't really even look at Tifa for her breasts, because it was around those times where their models were so damn pixelated and like geometric. I'm like, I didn't really care. I really didn't. Believe it or not, I actually like Yuffie, and Yuffie doesn't really even really have a bust. She's just this like little girl, but I had like a huge crush on Yuffie as a kid, just because like how like energetic she was. But I mean, I just feel like people are just kind of like taking the worst for things and thinking they're like, oh well, just because of this, or just because this person has assets, then that means that the developer is a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you do realize that there are people out there that actually have breasts that are larger than this, but just because you wanna talk about realism in media, but also shame certain aspects of it, that annoys me. That really does. It annoys me to no end.
One of my friends in the chat brought up a good point. He says, I think the problem is, to be honest, is people are taking the voice of Twitter and thinking that's reality. Whereas the common person doesn't post paragraphs of why their lives suck. Bring back big booby Tifa.
But I agree completely with that. That is precisely what I think is going on. I think that people are thinking that what they see on the internet is a representation of their reality, and that's not true, you know?
Because you can relate to a character, but you don't have to relate to every aspect. Like,
yeah.
In my opinion, you really should relate to the body aspect sometimes. Like, I mean, the only time you should is if you, like, want to achieve it, like, in a sense of, let's say you are a girl and you see Tifa who has muscles, like, and abs, you're like, oh, I want to do that. And you do strive for that.
And that, yeah. You have all of this stuff, and like muscles and abs. Shit, man. You know there's an entire fucking fetish for muscle girls.
Follow 3 accounts.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I mean, it's just it's precisely like Spaghetti said. I think it's just people that are looking on the internet. They're getting their views based off of what they see on the internet, and not really going out and like experiencing life, you know,
Right.
as it is. Because like, when's the last time you went out and had a person hate you for your gender or your race or any of that? Like, I had that shit as a kid.
I mean, where we both come from, yes.
Yeah. So it's like I had that shit, but I mean, it's not like I really deal with them on a daily basis
Yeah.
now.
But
And
even
I'm not
then, it wasn't.
even then, yeah, it wasn't even that. Like, I made a deal with it in school, but outside, shit, we lived in an old ass damn town. Most people, if they weren't dead, they were old as hell. The youngest people I saw were the people in my school.
Spaghetti brought up another good point again, and he said Goku and Future Trunks are part of the reason I got into the gym.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, you don't have to. Like, people shouldn't take the character and just be like, I like this character, but they're not me. I want them to be me only. Like, so I'm going to change X or Y. And it's just like, no, they're. You should relate to them not because. You should relate to them based on something else. Like, you shouldn't just be like. How I'm going to put it. If you are someone who's trans and you do see a character you like them for who they are. Like, I understand that, I'm sorry that, yes, they aren't trans as well, but that shouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You like this character for probably their personality. Like, you shouldn't want them to change for you specifically because you're upset.
I just wish that we had, like, I guess a more colorful cast of people that wasn't forced. So people would just shut up about it. You know, yeah. I like just have a character that's but have it to where they're a normal character. Like you said, just like them for who they are, or because in the end, that's what it's really there for. The games, movies, all of it. It's there for entertainment purposes. It's not there for you to have some sort of life, like, revelation of what you think that what you think that you should be. I mean, shit, I look at the fucking Rock in action movies. You think I want to be spending all the damn time in my day to get as big as his bald-headed ass?
You can't. You couldn't scratch your butt.
Yeah, like, he's cool, but goddamn, like, no way. First of all, I don't even have enough time in the day to do all that. But, I mean, it's just, they're there for what I call a cool factor. That's what it is. They're cool factor. Sometimes you like characters. That doesn't mean you gotta be like them. You know?
Yeah. But, even, like I said, just like a lot of people just take these characters and think one way or another when they look at, like, their designs and never take into effect of who they are. Like, for example, Shantae, I know a lot of people people probably like Neil or Sarkis are probably like, oh, Shantae's a horrible character. It was made by a dude for, like, you know, the old-fashioned term male gaze, which is another boat we'll get into in a second, but she was made by both a male and female. Same with Bayonetta. She was also made by a female, who is now one of the most famous people on Twitter, on the internet. Because everyone loves her. Because she's such a nice person. But, that's another thing I will also hate is that weird, in my opinion, I don't even count it as a real term. It's like a weird buzzword. Male gaze. It's like, I always say this every time I see people post that when they see, like, when, like, a character's, like, is drawn or shown to be really sexy or something. And I'm like, do people forget bi women and lesbians exist? Because I met a girl who hated the people who were getting on the fact of how Tracer was showing her butt, and she's like, and when she learned about how they changed it up, she's like, that makes me happier.
Oh god, that's another one where they just forget that there's more than just guys that like big bodied women. That ain't come out right. Big body. I mean, like, big busts, big something that's just appealing or visual appealing to the eyes.
Yeah.
But they always just kind of jump on the whole, like, oh, it's guys, and I'm like, you.
Spaghetti's right. It's thick.
I'm just like, yeah. I was like, you do realize that there are women out there who like thick girls. You do realize that there are trans women out there that like thick girls, trans men, you name it. People, it's more of like a concept. People just like thick. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, shoot, and that's just so dumb. Like I've tried to just stand clear of that mentality because it just in the end it doesn't go anywhere. It's just a bunch of people just circle jerking. What's the word? What's the word? The way I don't remember the Dragon Ball Z Abridged. You remember that one episode where Cell pretty much was talking about he was asking people to like fight him.
Yeah.
He was just like he said, Goku, if you're not gonna fight me, who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be like Yamcha or Tien or Hercule or whatever or Satan or whatever? And Yamcha pretty much said it's like a hate boner triangle.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is. It's like a it's a hate boner triangle. Just people they just want to be mad. And it doesn't go anywhere. It just makes their life miserable and puts them in a bubble.
Yeah, man. That's why, like I said, it's just like one example I would like to use specifically when it comes to people I know who really hate the design is Melina from Mortal Kombat.
Oh God, her mouth.
Hey, it got better. But I know people hate her. I know there are people who hate her design because she's like so revealing and so like sexual. But I'm like, do you guys not see the point of her character? That's her whole stick. Because she has a fucking messed up mouth. She has to use something else to show off. That's not even me being like rude. That's like part of her personality, really.
Oh yeah. I mean that's part of her lore. I mean not just her personality. She's fucking psychotic.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oof.
Like, you can't just look at the design and just think, oh, they're only doing this for this. I mean, don't get me wrong. They are doing it because, yes, if you look at the Mortal Kombat women, they are sexy. But still, they at least have personalities. Or in backgrounds.
Oh yeah. Who was it? She was supposed to be like a clone of Katana, right?
Yeah.
And her thing was just like, I guess she was supposed to take Katana's role. I don't know. Like,
Lore's changed so much.
Oh, I was just about to say, I don't really know a lot about Mortal Kombat, which is funny actually because my brother, he's a huge Mortal Kombat fan. So it's just like, damn. But yeah, I mean, she's revealing. I mean, but did people forget that Shiva's also revealing? Shiva showing her little ass tits, even though she got 4 arms and a mohawk and sharp teeth and spikes on her shoulders, but they don't want to mention her.
Yep. Like I said, these characters, like, there is so much more to every character you meet. And also, Spaghetti brought another good point about how there is that weird double standard with people when it comes to that with like sex appeal and violence. It's like, we don't want sex appeal, but we're okay with like you ripping that man's head off or like spitting on that man's grave. That's we're fine with super uber horrible things, but sex appeal, no, put that away. It's like, what can we have both, or what's wrong with both? It's like, man.
Everything is wrong. That's why I'm glad, like, my Twitter is not usually full of that kind of stuff. I have 2 different Twitters, and one of them is specifically for like serious stuff.
Yeah.
But the other one is just for like more just enjoyable stuff, just like media and stuff, non-serious stuff. Usually just shitpost and stuff, but like the news is it's often pessimistic, and they usually show the worst of the worst just for either views or whatnot. I'm a media studies like major. I got a bachelor's in that and learning about journalism and all that stuff and how that stuff works. A lot of it's just people just wanting to do what they can to just get a lot of views, and some of it is biased in and of itself. Like some of it may be factually correct, but then there are other parts that is like often misinterpreted, and it's really just up to the person that made it instead of like they might look up one thing and then be like, oh, this is fact. And it's like it's kind of like that thing you were talking about earlier, where they looked at like they probably didn't even play the whole game. They just looked at the character and they really just said like, oh well, I'm just gonna make my own interpretation of this character and totally disregard the whole reason as to why they are the way that they are. And that happens a lot. That really does. That happens a lot. That happens not just in games. That happens in movies. That happens in books. I don't know. It's crazy. People be wilding.
People are always be wild, man. This time, gonna be in a time.
Yeah, right.
But man.
Shoot, this is a good podcast.
Yeah. Probably should start ending it now. Like all the closing statements of all this is that who cares about if they're like revealing or not? We care more about who they are as a character. Like we care about all the characters we mentioned today. We care about them so much more from the things they do, the way they behave. Like there's more to them than just like, oh, boobs, cool. I mean, it's a bonus. Don't get me wrong, but still.
I mean, shoot. I mean, people seem to forget that porn exists.
Apparently.
I've seen so many goddamn tits. Even if I saw it in a video game, it just wouldn't even faze me anymore. But yeah, it is exactly that in the end. Like it's. I think sex appeal should just be looked at more as a bonus, unless there is some sort of like specific point to it. You know?
Yeah.
We talked about tonight. Like we care more about the characters themselves, their struggles. You know, what made them who they are, and not just physical appearance. Although sometimes physical appearance does play a part. Like,
well, physical appearance has to play a part in some way because if they look butt ugly, it's gonna be kind of hard to pay attention.
Well. Yeah, but I mean, even some ugly characters still have really good stories. Look at Nier, the first Nier, Nier like Gestalt and Nier Replicant.
Yeah.
Nier Replicant's actually being remade.
Yeah.
But Gestalt, that dude was ugly as hell.
Oh, you're right.
Ugly as hell, but
yeah, you're right. I'll retract my statement. You're right.
It's like I said, it's his story, you know. I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from too, though. It's just crazy.
Yeah, you know. Sorry, I was gonna say I'll retract my statement, but say it more or less of if the design is crap, hopefully their personality is good.
Oh yeah.
Because that also is the biggest point for me as well. Is just like if they have a good personality, then it's all good. I still will say that design's garbage, but at least they're cool character.
I mean, there's also an artistic standpoint that you can look at.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like the person's design, then you like the person's design.
Yeah.
You just like the way they look, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that too.
Yeah, I see your point, man. I agree with that. I can vibe with that.
Yeah, you don't have to be an artist to appreciate good design. Oh shit.
Oh man, no. But well, that's pretty much just gonna be the end of this stream. I'm happy for everyone who showed up, which is most conversations we had with Spaghetti, and I love you, bro. Wakanda forever, my dude. But thanks for coming on, Reeves. Hopefully we can do something like this again with something else. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I've been wanting to do my Naruto top conversation. And I'm not sure how deep you were into that series or not.
Oh, I'm not deep at all. The
Yeah.
last thing I remember about Naruto was the Mist Village.
You were that.
I watched some of the fights online, but it was around the time I just like stopped watching anime. Like I just I would gladly watch it with friends, but on my own time I usually just play games on my own time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks interesting. Like Shippuden had some pretty epic battles that went on. I watched some of those. Those were nuts. I was like, I remember Naruto. He just learned how to walk on water, and now he's throwing nuclear bombs at people. That's quite a leap.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'll think of something. Unless you have a topic you want to. If you have a topic, just let me know of something you want to like talk about.
Oh yeah. I honestly, I feel like I've rambled too much this podcast.
Well,
I'm sorry.
You're fine. I'm a rambler to begin with, so it's all good. I'm more had the issue of just trying to articulate if I said that if I said that word correctly, like
Yeah, you did.
all my sentences, like all my ideas, because I already knew I was repeating myself a couple times, but that's how I speak and that's how I think. It just happens like that.
Oh, shoot! I mess up all the time. I'm not gonna lie. Even shoot, you should have heard me during my public speaking assignments. Good gosh.
Public speaking sucks.
Oh god, it does. Especially when you're in front of a whole class and then you choke, which I did, which is incredibly embarrassing. But shoot. I mean, I think streaming myself has kind of helped me sort of talk more.
Yeah.
So before it was just like, good gosh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to talk about.
Well, now everyone's like you, Spaghetti. We don't have a grand all time speaking.
Shoot. But yeah, I mean, thanks for.
No, you're not.
I'm actually super glad that you got to start this because I remember how much you were talking about how much you wanted to do it.
Yeah. It just, after the whole Neil thing, the Last of Us thing, I was like, you know what? Let me finally get this off the ground. Let me start something. Let me see where I can go with this.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it takes a little bit of inspiration. And I hate to say it, people being stupid sometimes is inspiration enough for you to throw them out. Put them in the spotlight.
Oh no, maybe. I already have another idea, but that probably won't happen until maybe June, and I need to talk to. I'm gonna probably talk to the guy in the comments about that, because he's the only guy I know who watches the anime I'm thinking of talking about.
Shoot, I said to watch Beastars.
You motherfucker need to get on that now.
I need to watch that. People have been telling me that I need to watch JoJo's, My Hero Academia. There's a lot of shows people have been telling me to watch. I just didn't get into it.
Oh, you say just read it, just be quicker.
I don't like reading. Although, like, I mean, I can't say that without sounding dumb as hell. But it's just like, I don't know. I get more satisfaction out of watching it. But then again, I mean, I heard that the manga is actually like the sequence of events that happens in the manga is different than the anime, so I might have to actually read the manga at some point.
Yeah. Actually, what Spaghetti says, the Jotaro would be my stand if I could have one. I actually have I'll tell you right now, Spaghetti, I have a picture of that, and if I can find it, I'll show you that. I have a picture of. I got a commission done of Jotaro as my stand. If I can find it, I'll send it to you later. But thanks for coming on, Reeves. It was nice having you on and everything.
Yeah.
Kind of wish we had like everyone else was able to stay, but I can understand like it was late for some of them. Some of them had other stuff to do.
I mean, life happens.
Life happens, man.
But I definitely appreciate you letting me come on and you let me get Vega on too, because Vega, he knows a lot more about this stuff than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely knows how to talk about people. Don't even get him started on Mega Man. Oh God, he knows like I talked about Metroid tonight, he knows everything about Mega Man. Like we're talking Mega Man Zero, ZX, Mega Man X, the original Mega Man. Like, ooh, always depresses me with those stories too because it's a dark story.
Oh yeah, Mega Man's lore is kind of fucked.
It really is. So yeah.
But okay, thanks for everyone coming on tonight. I love doing this. This was fun. I finally got over my fear of throwing up, so that's good. But we're gonna end it here, and hopefully we'll do another one, and hopefully pretty soon I will be streaming Horizon Zero Dawn, so more people can understand like about Aloy's character. Like I feel like actually showing her off will probably be better than me trying to explain everything. But you have anything else you want to plug in, Reeps?
Not really. Other than what I plugged in the beginning, just my Twitch channel. I stream Monday, Wednesdays, or Fridays at 10 p.m. East, and I have a Twitter, but I mean, I rarely like. I mean, I'm on it, but I'm more of like a lurker on there than anything.
Yeah.
So I don't really talk about a lot of serious topics.
Do you have what was I going to say? Will you be streaming tomorrow? So I mean, oh my god, why am I having trouble speaking? Fuck.
No,
okay.
No, you're fine. Well, I don't stream on the weekends.
Oh yeah, today's Sunday. Fuck.
For fear of burnout, really. That's really like I see people stream like every day of the week, and I'm just like, yeah. By the time I get off work, I don't want to like
just start doing that
every single night. I try to be charismatic, but I get tired. I'm not gonna lie, especially if we get our ass kicked the day at work. I'm just like, I get sleepy.
Yeah, I get that. But will you be streaming? You'll be streaming Monday, though. Do you know what game you're gonna be streaming? Is it a horror game, or are you gonna do with more Monster Hunter?
Typically I stream horror games. That's what my channel's based off of. Is usually horror games, and that's just horror, survival horror, you name it.
Yeah.
I'm considering. Like, I started off with I'm trying to do a lineup of old, like, gems, like, horror games that people really haven't heard of. One of which I started was Cold Fear, but I'll be honest, I'm not really enjoying it, so I might jump on to another, like, a Japanese horror game that I don't think it released in America, but they got English subtitles.
I would recommend Parasite Eve.
Oh! Yeah, I played the first one. I could stream the second one. I didn't play the second one.
Okay.
But
don't play the third one.
There's a third one?
Don't play. No one talks about it. Don't play it.
Third Birthday?
It's bad.
Oh.
Like real bad.
I have it.
Like, you know how we were just talking about like sex appeal and everything, and like how like there's way to do it and there's way not to do it.
Yeah. And
there are characters where, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this to this character because it doesn't fit their personalities.
They make a really bitchy character, have her just have like a tattered shirt on or something.
Parasite Eve is one of those games where I'm like, I feel like the dude maybe you should have let directing go to someone else. You feel dirty.
I feel gross.
Because, like I said, it's like Parasite Eve 3. I'll probably just sing like a playthrough or something of it. Like, I know one person I watched, like Wooly Versus did it, and he brings up why there's like as you see the gameplay and see even how he talks about it. It is a drastic change to the point where you don't even recognize it anymore.
Be honest with you, I don't really remember much about Third Birthday. I really don't. I never actually finished it either, which that's another thing.
Don't worry, I'll see the playthrough so you don't have to suffer through it.
But
But okay, we're gonna end it here. And thank you again, Reese, for coming on. And who knows what I'll do? Who knows? I'll think about when I might do this again. I still want to do my Naruto one. I might need to find some people to get on that one with me. I might just do another dual one, maybe. But thank you all for coming. Have a pleasant evening, morning, whichever, depending on if you're watching from another country or not, or somewhere else in the world. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Reese.
Bye.
Oop.